Season Podcast, Episode 5, NFL Week 3. What's up, Willie?
Man, it's we had a hot start this morning. Just live conversations, getting into this, reviewing some notes. I'm excited to talk a little ball and just lock in on all these storylines that we've been talking about.
We got a lot to get into today. A reminder to everybody, please follow us on Instagram at the Season Pod, at the SZN Pod on Instagram. And you can also find our YouTube link on there to our YouTube channel. If you're just going straight to YouTube, it's the same thing, at the Season Pod, at the SZN Pod. And check out not only the audio version, but also the video version, because we got to give credit where it's due to our beautiful studio here. And by the way, I finally brought some jerseys.
I know. Everyone look, if you see footage of this or you see a reel, we'll make sure we get them in. We got the Cleveland Browns jersey, and then
the random one.
We have the Stanford basketball jersey, which was like one of my favorite basketball teams. I used to have the shorts in high school or middle school or whatever it may be, but I've never seen the real jersey, and that is heat gear. If
thick.
It is the thickest jersey I've ever seen. Like, it reminds me of what I would wear in a 20-degree game or something, like that thickness.
That jersey was worn as, in 2003, my freshman year at Stanford, we were the number one overall seed in the NCAA tournament. We won in the first round. We ended up losing in the second round to Alabama. We were a favorite to go to the Final Four.
Yeah.
We did not end up going. But that jersey was worn in the NCAA tournament as the number one overall seed. That's kind of cool, right?
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
No, I had the shorts. I think I was on the bandwagon at that time.
Cool. Stanford basketball, for those of you that are too young to remember, was iconic at one point. It's been a long time since they've been really good.
Who were some of the main players on that team?
That team was a team full of guys that didn't have NBA careers other than one guy, but was a hell of a team that played together. Josh Childress was our most notable player. But Chris Hernandez, Justin Davis, Rob Little, Matt Loddick, who's coaching now in college basketball. Anyway, when we opened this thing, you heard me, by the way, just a side note, you heard me refer to Nick as Willie. Nick being my brother-in-law, obviously I've gotten to know him very, very well over the last, 10, 15 years. And one time his dad, Larry Foles, shout out to Larry if you're listening. Does Larry listen?
I actually don't even know if he knows we have this podcast.
We got to get him on.
He's opening like 4 restaurants this year, and he's busy.
Busy.
Every time I call him, too, he's either working on the restaurants or he's like, Nick, I'm on the golf course. So he's in both worlds. So I actually don't even know. I should probably tell him.
While Nick was playing ball during his NFL career, I was with Larry one time. This is Larry Foles. And Larry mentioned to me, he goes, and this stuck with me. He goes, I always wanted to name Nick Willie. And I'm like, why? He goes, because I always saw him being a star. And he goes, and I just thought it'd be so cool, and taking the field. And he even said this, taking the field, Willie Foles. Yeah. He just thought it sounded cool, and it stuck with me. And so I don't know if I've done it on this show, but in person, when Nick calls me, I always call him Willie. Yeah. There could be a little double entendre there. I don't know, but Willie's kind of a cool name for Nick. So if you know Nick, you call him Willie.
Yeah,
so I call him Willie.
Willie Mays being a great baseball player. My dad loving baseball growing up. He's got a crazy story in himself. Didn't graduate high school, but baseball was always like his safe place. That's what he loved doing. And I think when he was having a son, he was like, man, I love baseball. My son's going to play baseball. Willie Foles,
Foles.
Like Willie Mays. So
big Willie Foles.
So now, and honestly, I didn't even bat an eye when you said Willie. I didn't even think about it being on the podcast. Yeah, it's a normal thing now.
Big Willie Foles, Big Picnic. I mean, all those things. They work well on our show. We love it.
They do. They all go well together.
Okay, so we have week 2 of the NFL season in the rearview mirror. And we're going to hit on a lot of that today, and we've also got week 3 to look forward to. It was an interesting week. I mean, some of our thoughts from week 1 on certain teams were challenged. Some teams that looked a certain way, as week 2 tends to do, made teams look a little different. And we're going to jump into a lot of that today. The second Sunday Night Football game, which didn't match the first one, right? The first one was a classic between the Bills and the Ravens. The second one, not quite as good, right? It was kind of boring, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
A lot of sloppy play, I thought, in week 2. A lot of mistakes made by teams, and kind of goes back to the saying that Tom Brady would often throw out and Bill Belichick, that in order to win, you first have to learn not to lose. And a lot of teams showed this week that they have a lot of work to do in that regard. A lot of key mistakes, like special teams mistakes. The Steelers really got caught on a really bad special teams mistake. And those things cost you games, right? Now, the Seahawks deserve a lot of credit, but key mistakes made by teams in key moments end up being usually what wins teams the other game, or excuse me, what the other team has helped them win the game rather than that team actually winning the game. I know that's a little bit confusing, but it speaks to the way the NFL works and the delicate balance between winning and losing and how winning justifies everything. So like I remember in 2010, I was playing with the Browns. We had Peyton Hillis and a number of really good players, and like our average deficit in each game that we were like 6-10 that year. Our average deficit was like less than 4 points. And there's so many different things that could have gone differently, but in everyone's eyes that year, like we weren't very good.
Yeah.
Right? But there's so many games, like we're talking less than 4 points.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden we're a good team. And so like for example, the Colts, right? They're 2-0 right now. And we're going to jump into this later, but key penalties late in the game, right? J.K. Dobbins spiking the ball out of bounds, which he should not have done, moves the ball forward, and then, moves the ball backward. And then on the winning field goal for the Colts, they end up getting the Broncos end up getting a leverage penalty and jump over the line of scrimmage and use the guy to jump off. That's a personal foul. So now the missed winning field goal for Indy that would have given Denver the win turns into Denver losing the game because you move up 15 yards and Indy hits the game-winning field goal for 45 instead of 60.
Yeah.
And so instead of us sitting here being like, man, the Colts, they beat a bad Miami team and they lost to Denver, we're not really sure what they are. Instead, we're sitting here being like, no, Colts are 2-0.
Yeah.
They're rolling. The difference is that small.
And that's the NFL, though. It's different in college.
It is. It's funny how winning justifies it all, though.
Well, I mean, we're going to get into it, too. And, when we were talking about it, it's like KC last year, right? Mm-hmm. We're about to talk about KC, but I'm not saying Indy's this year's KC because Indy has not done what KC has done previously. But Kansas City last year was winning games the same way, like mistakes at the end of the game from the opposing team, give them another opportunity. They were barely winning games, but they were always finding a way to win. But that was throughout the course of the year, and everyone was waiting for when that would catch up to them. And I thought it would happen earlier, but it didn't happen until the Super Bowl. And now going into this season, are all those flaws once again are starting to peek their head through and causing issues early in the season. So, Indy, this could be a special year for them because things are sort of going the right way. And we'll get into all this because I have some stuff to talk about throughout those games. But that's why the NFL is so fascinating. That's why picking spreads is so hard. And being players in the NFL, you feel it. I mean, each game, you might even be up by 21 points in the first half, but in the second half, like that means nothing. You got to keep bringing it because if you do get complacent, that team's going to come back. I was a part of a Indianapolis Colts team that was in Minnesota winning by 1,000 points. And
this was the 2022 season?
2022 season. And, it was everything looked amazing. Offense is playing awesome. I forget how many points we were up.
Jeff Saturday was the coach.
Jeff Saturday was the head coach. Frank's fired at the beginning. It was just a brutal year, but we finally had a game offensively where we were just doing really, really good. And then the second half, Minnesota didn't even run a hurry-up offense. That's what was crazy. They just ran their offense and put a lot of pressure on our defense and came back in the game and ended up winning, and it became the greatest comeback in the history of a regular season game. And I got to witness it from the other side of the ball, and then Matt Ryan's benched the next week, and I'm playing it. I'm like, Matt should have never been benched, but that's the NFL. It is craziness, but that's why fans love it.
It's also why if on Sunday morning, I say morning on the West Coast, but East Coast would be 1 p.m., that morning window of games, you think you've got games figured out at halftime. You're like, oh, this team's doing it. And that's why they call it the witching hour, the last 30 to 40 minutes of these games, because they get crazy. They always do. Even if it's a 2-touchdown deficit in the first half, they get crazy. And the line is so thin between winning and losing. Even with Philly, who's undefeated right now at 2-0 and beat Kansas City, who's 0-2, key moments in that game changed the trajectory of that game. So these games are wild. Couple quick notes. Joe Burrow's out till at least mid-December, possibly longer. Injury. The injury's already playing a factor in the NFL season. J.J. McCarthy, who did really well in week 1 in the second half, he is now out 2 to 4 weeks with an ankle, at least 2 to 4 weeks with an ankle. Jaden Daniels may be out this week, maybe. We don't have any final word on that. We're going to talk about backup quarterbacks too. Justin Fields, concussion, already ruled out this week after a fairly promising start for the Jets. Aaron Jones for the Minnesota Vikings. So J.J. McCarthy and Aaron Jones out.
Shout out to Aaron Jones for making the quarterback list.
Well, yeah, notable injuries, right, that are going to impact and how quickly things change. So if you're Kevin O'Connell, you enter the season being like, I feel good about things.
Yep.
2 weeks in, I've lost my quarterback and most likely my running back for a while with a hamstring injury. You can't really play through those things. Crazy how quickly the season can change with injuries and how important depth and a good quality roster is. And like teams like the Eagles have that depth, right?
Yes.
One thing I want to ask you about that came up this week that I quickly noticed on Monday night, at one point during the game, and I think people should be aware of this because this is super interesting, a dynamic that we're not used to. Tom Brady has not been out of the league that long. Obviously, one of maybe probably the greatest quarterback of all time as far as winning is concerned. And Tom has gotten involved in a lot of different things since he finished his career. I'm watching a documentary right now on Amazon Prime about him buying into the Birmingham Blues in England, the soccer team. They're trying to turn that thing around. And he also, as we know, is a minority owner for the Raiders. And he's also calling games on Fox. So he has access to all 32 teams over the course of the season, talking to offensive coordinators before games, all that. During the game, they showed him up in the coach's booth. So he's sitting behind, like up one level, but behind Chip Kelly with a headset on. Chip Kelly's the offensive coordinator for the Raiders. He's got a headset on. And presumably, I don't have any confirmation of this, he's listening to the coaches' exchanges over the headset. And listening to Chip call plays, listening to maybe Pete Carroll chiming in, and listening to the offensive assistants chiming in, just listening to it.
Yeah.
As a minority owner that knows football, would probably, you'd expect them to do it, right?
I didn't even know they could do that, to be honest with you.
There's debate on that as well. Now, he can't be an extra coach,
Yeah.
but since he's an owner, I think the league is saying it's fine. The league has actually said that. It's fine.
But
there were people asking, like, wait, is this even legal to have another football mind in the booth? Because they have limits on that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But he's not talking back to them. He's not saying, no, on this play I want you. He's just listening.
But even if he goes throughout the course of the next week and has conversations with Chip about what he's – because, therefore he's becoming sort of like an assistant
that's the debate.
Coach, yeah.
Is if the assumption, if he's listening, is that he's also – and Chip even commented that I talked to Tom, right?
Yeah.
Why would you not?
Yeah,
right?
I think Chip loves Tom.
Chip's been coaching for a long time, and I have a lot of respect for Chip's knowledge of the game.
Yeah.
But – he'd be silly not to lean on Tom Brady if Tom's
No doubt.
willing to help him. He doesn't, let's be real, he doesn't know as much as Tom does. Or I should say, he doesn't know more than Tom does.
Yeah.
So if Tom is part of what's going on there,
Mm-hmm.
and he's also calling games around the league, I don't want to overstate this because I think in a practical sense, most coaches can be like, look, Tom Brady's very knowledgeable in football. He can call our game without me giving him too much information. It's going to hurt us. But if you're an offensive coordinator and Tom's calling your game one week on Fox, and you also play the Raiders, or a defensive coordinator for that matter, and you play the Raiders, you play them in 1 or 2 weeks, and you're divulging information to Tom about what you like to do inside the red zone and all that.
Yeah.
Do you trust that I can be open with Tom? Because I used to call games in college, and you try to build a rapport with coaches because you talk to them the week of the game. You meet with them in person. You say, hey, and there's confidentiality, right? There's a professional code of confidentiality when you have these discussions that, hey,
which the Patriots have always been good at honoring.
If I'm talking to you, let's say I'm calling a UCLA game and I'm talking to you, and I go, hey, when you guys get inside the 20, you guys have had some red zone issues. If I'm a broadcaster getting ready for a game, give me a sense of what you guys are trying to accomplish, what you're trying to change. I'm hoping you'll be honest with me.
Yeah.
And then it's my job to take that information and present it to the audience in a way that doesn't compromise your strategy, doesn't give away secrets and all that. But I want you to be honest with me so I can then use my knowledge of the game to articulate strategy to the audience without. So are you concerned? Like if you're a coordinator that Tom's calling a game for, does this concern you at all? Does it compromise the integrity of the game, or do you think it's overstated?
It absolutely concerns me. And
So you're not telling him much?
No, I'm not telling him anything. I do think that they're making regulations where he can't be in person, can't do certain things. I don't know everything they put in place for him to protect each team, but I mean, you never want to divulge any information of what you're doing within your team's facility to someone that could potentially share it with someone else at another facility. Because as much as everyone loves and respects Tom for what he's done on the field and how he's handled himself and all that being said, he's still a minority owner that's talking to the offensive coordinator that can easily, Chip could be like, do they have cover zero in the +5? And Tom would be like, I can't tell you yes or no, but I would be prepared for it. Like, he didn't say yes or no, but he's telling them yes because he's, there's just situations that it's really, really messy. And it's just funny that the league is allowing this to happen because of everything that has happened. And I'm not saying within the Patriots organization in the past. I mean, when we played them in the Super Bowl, we shredded every single ounce of paper that, you get the script and then they change one thing, you get a new script. That is shredded right away. when we did our pregame walkthrough the day before, when we did our photos, we had 13 players on the field instead of 11 to hide formations, and we ran simple plays just to do the exercise. So we did precautions, and I'm not saying Tom's going to cheat or any of those things, but I just think it's a really interesting situation. I think you just take him outside of that booth, so he just keeps two worlds. He's getting paid a lot to broadcast, and then that money, that it's funny because he's made a lot in his career, he's made a lot in marketing, makes a lot off the field, but he's also making a lot of money at the broadcast that probably allowed him a minority ownership as well. So it's just a really messy situation that I do think needs to be cleaned up, and it will be, because there's no way coaches around the league are going to be comfortable with this. I think because it's a Raiders team that's not very good right now, it's not a big deal. But if this is like the Chargers, who's a team that's up and coming, that's really good,
right,
and could be a Super Bowl contender, I mean, it becomes a messy situation.
Yeah. Well, the potential, like what it appears on the surface, it appears to be a conflict of interest, is what it appears to be.
It is, right? Absolutely a conflict of interest.
And what's funny, though, is and I know we like the Raiders, we like what they're doing.
I do. I like Pete Carroll, yes.
Yeah, I do too. But what's funny is the Raiders, especially Monday, 9 points, were so bad offensively.
Yeah.
Gino had 3 picks, right? So bad offensively that it's like, hey, Tom, most coaches are probably thinking, whatever you're doing, dude, keep doing it because it's not working. But that's for now. That could change, right?
No, but I would say this. If he's just listening to the game, he's not giving insight during the game. So you're not going to see the change within that game per se.
Yeah.
But I will say this, Tom, that information from Tom listening to the game and listening to every call and watching the game and the situation, them playing so poorly, and some of those picks were like tight windows popped up, stuff like that, throwing it way downfield, trying to make a play. The defense made some great picks, great interceptions. This week, those phone conversations with Tom Brady and Chip Kelly are so valuable, getting Tom's insight. So going into this week is where all that's going to take effect. So I'm curious to see how the Raiders change things going into this week offensively, learning from what Tom saw in the game, because Tom in the game can't make changes. If the league's saying he's just listening, there's nothing that can happen. This is the week where he can implement them.
Information in the league, in pro sports in general, is funny. So Sean Green's a buddy of mine. He is an all-time great for the Dodgers. Holds some, or until recently, held records for the Dodgers as far as single-season home runs for the Dodgers. Fantastic player for a long time. And I remember talking to Sean Green, about how he used to study pitchers in a legal way and try to get tips on their pitches. And he goes, Evan, I had a pretty good dossier, if you will, of pitchers' tendencies. And it was legal. He wasn't using any illegal means like, the Astros and stuff started cheating and trying. He was doing it in a legal way. He was just studying pitchers. And he goes, there were a number of guys on my team that wouldn't act on the information because they didn't trust it. And he goes, if they're guessing, or not guessing, but if they're using that information and assuming, and they assume wrong, they're going to look silly. Yeah. He goes, all they wanted to know, Sean goes, all I wanted to know was whether the pitch that was coming was off speed or fastball. Mm-hmm. If it's off speed, I could just sit on it and wait, hit it out of the park. Fastball, I was ready for it, get a bat on it, I'm going to hit it hard, and hopefully it stays in play. So Sean's thing was like, not everybody wanted that information though, because sometimes I'll play golf with Sean, I'll also play with Garrett Anderson, who's also an all-time great hitter. Yeah. Garrett's like, I didn't want to know. Like they'd tell me going up, hey, if the pitcher does this with his glove, it's an off-speed pitch. He goes, I didn't trust it. Not that I disrespected their method. He goes, I just didn't trust it, and if it got in my head that I was second guessing, I looked silly. I'd rather just trust my eyes. So some people don't even want to hear it.
Yeah.
But some do.
Yes.
And it also reminds me of a conversation a couple years ago I had with the late Mike Leach. So Mike Leach, one of the great college football coaches of all time. Mike was hilarious. Yeah. Mike would say, look, he goes, I was never worried about people stealing information from us because more often than not, they were wrong. And so what he said is, he goes, one time, he goes, we saw one of our janitors came to me with a tip sheet from an opposing locker room. This was several years ago. And the janitor had found it and said, hey, Mike, check this out. And it was a tip sheet for the corners and the defense based on the alignment of the receivers. They thought they had it all figured out. And he goes, Evan, this is Mike Leach talking. He goes, they're like, oh, if he splits inside the numbers, these are the 3 routes he's running. If he splits, he goes, I told our guys line up wherever the hell you want. He goes, they're giving us too much credit. He goes, I'm not that smart, which is funny because everyone thinks Mike Leach was a genius. He goes, I'm not that smart.
But maybe he was a genius because he made it so simple.
He goes, I literally would tell our receivers line up wherever you want. So he goes, it's screwed with them because they thought they had us pegged. And so I really emphasized the following week, continue to line up wherever the hell you want because they think they have you guys figured out, right?
No, that's
so
good.
Some people won't act on it, but on the surface, to the naked eye, it appears as a conflict of interest. We'll see where this goes with the league and whether anyone cries foul on this. Ultimately, it could potentially hurt Fox and Tom because are they going to get the information they need before games to give Tom the richest content or the best possible broadcast he could get by having information to divulge? Like we all know for a while, Tony Romo was thought of as so great because he was like predicting plays based on alignment and all those things. People enjoyed that. People want to hear Tom give them sage wisdom, sage information that they go, that's what I'm looking for from a guy like Tom. So can he get that information when people know he's also a minority owner for the Raiders? I don't think it's going to hurt the game. It could potentially hurt Fox and Tom. Maybe it's overstated. I don't know. We'll see where it goes through the season.
No, I think a good point too, though, is like the Texas, and I played in the same offense in college. So yeah, there just line up in a general area sort of thing. Yeah. It's funny because it was just so much free will. But it's different getting that sheet from an analytical guy that just studies analytics and film and probably didn't play the game that much compared to getting something from Tom. Yeah. That's one of the greatest that ever decipher and run an offense and run a team. So
I think the Raiders would be silly not to use Tom as a resource. How that conflicts with his job, staying neutral and talking to all these teams, we'll see. It's super interesting though. It's something the league has not seen before. Let's call it.
I have a feeling they're going to be watching it throughout the course of each game and seeing how it goes. But I agree with you. I do think it's a conflict of interest. I know you didn't say that. I do because I just know how all this works. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
The thing we got to remember too is the guiding light for the NFL is that this is an entertainment business.
Yes.
Right. That first and foremost, and that theme is going to permeate through our discussion of the tush push today as well. This is an entertainment business. The NFL certainly never wants to see their product compromised, right? Whether through gambling or whatever it is, they don't want to see their product compromised because that would definitely put a damper on the shield. However, that they'll always look at it through that lens, and the reality is this is another cool component to the ultimate reality show that the NFL is, that the all-time great quarterback is now a minority owner. He's calling games, and he's sitting up in the booth for a team. He's sitting up in the coach's booth for a team, and boy, oh boy, that doesn't look great, but the NFL loves the chatter.
Oh, no
There's
doubt.
No question about that. And that's always how it's going to be looked at until it becomes an actual problem. All right, game of the week. Last week, we spent a lot of time talking about the Eagles going to the Chiefs and how we thought that would play out.
We called it.
We did. We did. We picked the Eagles on the road. And it's crazy because the Chiefs had not lost at home since 2023 Christmas against the Raiders. You don't walk into whatever the heck they call it, Geha Field or whatever. But,
let's just say Arrowhead Stadium.
Arrowhead, we're going to call it.
Let's just call it.
You don't walk into Arrowhead and win. That's a fact. Even last year, the Chiefs, as much as they struggled at times, they were 11-0 in one-score games. Okay, that's incredible. A testament to Andy Reid's coaching. 11-0 in one-score games. So far this year, they're 0-2 in one-score games. So what does that tell us? Turned out to be a good game. Probably not as many fireworks as we would have liked to see. Finishes 20-17, and the Eagles walk out with a win. I think the Chiefs were a little frustrated. There was an exchange late in the game that was caught on a mic where the Eagles were in a victory formation.
That was so good.
And Chris Jones was kind of talking smack to the Eagles, saying, and he yelled back at Saquon. He's like, "You don't even have 100 yards in this game." I don't know what was said before that. And Jalen, going under center to do the victory formation snap, looks at him and goes, "Dude, we won the game." Right? Like,
it's not what
shut
he said.
Up, dude.
It's not what he said.
Yeah, I know. I want my daughters to listen to this podcast, though, so I'm not going to repeat it. He goes, "We won the game," right? Great exchange between the two of those guys, two great players. And it shows just the tension between these two teams. And the Eagles now are 18-1 in the last 19 games, including the playoffs last year, dating back to week 6 of last year. They have won 18 of 19 games. And while we can look at this game and dissect it and point to things that the Eagles did not do well and things that they have to get better at, they are 18-1 in the last 19 games, and they found a way to get a win at Arrowhead and make the Chiefs 0-2, and the Eagles are cruising. So what were some of before we get into the tush push, because we have to talk about that today, and I know people are like, "Oh, here we go again." No, there's some different ways to look at this today than there was even 3 weeks ago. What do you think of Jalen Hurts in that game and his ability to get it again? 18-1. These are all games he's starting, and while he's not a top 3 passer in the league, they're 18-1.
Yeah, No, I agree, and I think Tanner McKee probably played in a few or one of those, or one or two, which I love Tanner.
Nothing meaningful. Let's just for all intents and purposes, it was Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, we'll say that.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Jalen Hurts. We all know that, but I will say they do, and they know this as well. New coordinator. Yeah, you're 2-0. That's awesome. Jalen Hurts is a winner. He's been a winner on every level. I love him. He's great for the team. He's also a part of a great organization. Like Pat Mahomes is a part of a great organization. So it's a winning organization. They do have to figure out the passing game. And I know the coaches are like probably preaching, we won, screw everyone else. It's about winning. Absolutely. Doesn't matter how you win. Just win. But when you got two of the best receivers in the game and they're not getting any yards and it's really tight, and a big reason this game goes the way it does is the Eagles play great, but that interception at the end where Travis doesn't get his eyes around, and I know Pat said the ball was low, and that's sort of where you have to put it on the front, on the goal line. Like, you're not putting it up higher because you don't want it to pop up. Like, Trav's got to get his eyes around, and usually when Trav is late with his eyes, he still makes the catch because he's that good. He very seldom does what he did. But that's a big turn in that game. Like, that's a touchdown, not going all the way back.
So the Chiefs are going in. It's 13-10. The Eagles are winning, and the Chiefs presumably are going to score to go ahead.
It should be 17-13.
Yeah.
And now everyone listen, oh, no, but it's in – listen, that's usually a routine play right there. Like, everything they wanted was there. Pat, in my opinion, threw a good ball for Trav to make the play. Trav's going to catch it and fall in the end zone. It's going to be 17-13. The game's a very different game at that point. It ends up being 20-17. The Eagles are going to have to figure out the passing game. They absolutely will. Their run game – the way they're set up, they're so dangerous. The run game's unbelievable. They will figure it out, but my big thing with Jalen is just what is it going to look like? Is it going to be finding his first read? Is he going to be able to – the thing I watched a little bit was he would go through his first read and his eyes would drop to the D-line and then he'd look to make moves. And I would like him to, just find the check down. And he knows all these things. I'm not trying to critique him too much, but –
There you are.
He's just – it's going to – If you're saying you're safe at 2-0 right now early in the season because you're finding a way to win, but there's a big issue with the passing game, with the quality of receivers and tight ends you have, I'm worried. I think that needs to be an intensive, like, we got to get this going. We need to be – there's no such thing as a balanced attack, but we need to be able to throw the ball and be dangerous. Like, we need some big plays. And knowing the Eagles, they're going to have that game where all of a sudden he throws for 350 yards, A.J. Brown has 150, Devontae Smith – they're known for that, but it is something that they do need to focus on and get going. And the reason I said this isn't Kellen Moore calling plays. This is a new coach, Coach Patullo.
Yep, Kevin Patullo.
This is and he has not shown as a play caller yet that he can dial up plays where Jalen Hurts is comfortable throwing the ball. So that's my big thing is with the new OC with Jalen Hurts, there has not been any sign of the passing attack yet.
You saw over the course of the game an intentional effort to get A.J. Brown more involved as much as they could. A.J. Brown had 8 targets this week. Remember, week 1 target and like 8 yards receiving.
Yeah.
So 8 targets, 5 receptions, 27 yards. Not the production they want from him yet. He's their best receiver. Obviously, they have other options as well. Look, we also know when you play the Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo, their offensive or defensive coordinator, you're going to play a defense that's going to be aggressive. You're going to see plenty of man-to-man coverage. You're going to see some zero coverage with no free safety, man-to-man across the board and bringing pressure. They're going to load up at the line of scrimmage to stop the run and put pressure on the quarterback. And if you go back to our discussions earlier this calendar year, last season, before the Super Bowl, back in late February, we talked about if the Eagles struggle, here's why they'll struggle. And I was wrong. Like, the game ended up going the way the Eagles wanted in pretty much every facet. But the idea was you have to get the Eagles in some obvious passing situations to where Jalen has to stay in the pocket and throw the football. Okay, and if there is a weakness, even though it didn't show up in the Super Bowl, that is where it's at with this offense. It's not all Jalen's fault, right? But that is where it's at with this offense. There's no question in my mind about that. You're not gonna convince me differently, even though they've been 18-1 the last 19 games. But I can hold that thought in my head of Jalen not being great when he's forced to go through reads in the pocket, and also acknowledge that Jalen's intangibles, his toughness. Yep. And the grit and all the things that help him push through and get a win late in the game like that as the leader of this team are off the charts. Off the charts. If I give you the 5 best passers in the league, Jalen is not one of them. But that's okay. At least right now, it's okay. At least and it clearly appears to be okay because they win. And he's got other key pieces around him. He's got a really good offensive line. He's got a great running back. He's got a good 1-2 punch combo at running back. He's got good receivers. He's had great play callers in the past. We'll see if Kevin Patullo is that. But the facts are that he doesn't work through his progressions very well. And we heard a defender from the Colts after the Miami game say the same thing about Tua Tagovailoa. And I'm not comparing Tua to Jalen.
Good for you for saying the last name. Holy
yeah, I know, right?
Wow.
I'm not comparing Tua to Jalen, but I am saying that is what every team that plays the Eagles is going to try to accomplish. And there were many times during that game when you and I were standing next to each other at the Eagles game last September at home against Atlanta, the game that you were, honorary captain and all that. Many times I hit you. I'm like, he didn't need to bail right there.
Yeah.
He didn't need to leave the pocket. And if he stays and goes through his progressions, he has easy completions. And it's not a strength of his. Will he get better at it? Possibly. But right now it's a weakness. And in games like that, it shows up a little bit more. But don't just stop the soundbite there. I am acknowledging his intangibles are off the charts.
Yeah.
And they're probably even underrated. Right? They're not winning, and I'm not when I point out his weaknesses, I'm not saying they're winning despite what they're not winning despite what Jalen's doing. I'm still saying they're winning because of what Jalen is doing. The guy's a stud.
Yeah.
He hangs in there and makes things happen as best as he can. There are deficiencies in his game, but the intangibles are off the charts. And the fact they're 18-1, yeah, they made probably the greatest acquisition that I can remember in a very long time in getting Saquon Barkley. And he's certainly helping, best offensive player in the league last year, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. But Jalen is also doing some fantastic things. But we can also point out those weaknesses, too, that make that game 20-17 instead of even more than that.
Yeah. No, and I think, too, what people need to realize, the Eagles are known for their rushing attack. So that means you're going to get opportune coverages to throw the ball. You're going to get a lot of post safety, them loading the box, trying to stop the run, force you to throw the ball, which, for me, playing quarterback, I saw a lot of too high look. If we weren't running the ball, they were just going to go too high, quarters, quarter halves, whatever it may be. All the crazy exotic coverages, which makes it a lot more difficult because there's more people in the secondary to defend the pass.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because the Eagles are so good rushing, there's going to be less people in the secondary, so there should be more openings if they're playing a zone defense in the zone. It's just high-low in the zone defender. If it's man, you got your matchups, all those different things. So they need to be a danger to pass the ball. They have to be. Jalen's got to be able to sit in there and go through his reads and just check it down. You said it best. Like his intangibles, he's one of the top-tier quarterbacks, but it's not for his throwing. It's for his everything that encompasses him. He's going to Josh Allen and him are going to break Cam Newton's rushing record of all-time rushing touchdowns at 77. Josh is at 72. He is at 67. So, it's unbelievable what he can do. And I know the tush pushes a lot of that, but Jalen makes a lot of plays with his legs, and that's why he's so dangerous. That's why they win. He's able to do that. They just become more dangerous as the passing game develops with the new OC, with Coach Patullo. They're going to become more dangerous. They just have to figure it out. I just don't want them. I've just been on teams that, you say, hey, we won 2, it doesn't matter. I just want that sense of urgency has to be in the passing game because of the quality. If you didn't have the quality receivers you have, I get it. You got 2 of the best receivers in the game that you're not even getting.
The Chiefs have deficiencies at receiver.
Let's just say this:
now,
if A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are on the Chiefs that last game, they're both going for over 100. Like they're going to ball out just because of the quality of receivers they are. They're awesome receivers. Yeah. And then you got Dallas Goedert. I know he was injured and all those things. You got the arsenal. And that's why teams are so afraid, because the Eagles can beat you in so many different ways because they're a great team, a great organization. It's exciting because we're talking about a top quarterback in the league that can be so much better.
It can be better.
And that is awesome, because if we were sitting here like he can't be any better, that's sort of a sad thing. Jalen Hurts can keep getting better and better and better, which is so amazing for Eagles fans. It's amazing for Jalen because of, you just said, his work ethic, what he does. He sees this stuff. He knows that.
Yeah.
But the big thing is they find a way to win, and they will get this cleaned up. And, the Chiefs – they made some mistakes the first 2 weeks. They played against 2 really good teams. They played against the Chargers, who are and we talked about it. They were the best team in the AFC West right now. And then we talked about the Eagles defending Super Bowl champs. Those are 2 of the best. Those are probably the 2 best teams in the NFL right now, apart from like the Bills and whoever. But those are 2 hard games. The Chiefs are going to be okay.
So to wrap that up, Jalen was 15 of 22 for 101 yards and a rushing TD on the tush push, by the way. And it's interesting to follow his game, because I think if you go back to, this is why Jalen, playing at Alabama, playing at Oklahoma, having a lot of success, this is why Jalen was a second-round pick and not a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Because people doubted this. And this has shown up at times throughout his career. But the dude, going back to intangibles, and obviously has a ton of positive physical attributes. Tangibly speaking, has a lot of physical attributes. Intangibly speaking, he's off the charts.
Yeah.
And those are things that we knew from college were going to be really high, and that kept him as high as the second round. But what pushed him out of the first is people wondering, what kind of passer is he, right? And I still think it's fair to ask questions about that. The Chiefs, I mentioned a minute ago, as far as the Chiefs are concerned, 11-0 last year in one-score games. 11-0. This year, 0-2, right? Does that trend continue? I don't know. He's in the division has gotten even more difficult with what the Chargers look like and what the Broncos look like and what I think the Broncos will be. And I also think we'll see the Raiders improve. So it's very easy to look at the AFC West and the Chiefs and their division and wonder, boy, oh boy, that 10-year run and winning 10 straight AFC West titles, that might be in jeopardy this year. I don't think that's an overreaction. A key play, once again in the game, like it always is for the Eagles, is the tush push. We're not going to spend too much time on this, but we're going to address it. So there's two discussions to have with regard to the tush push. One, and the one, really the only one, I'm sorry if I missed it, but the only one I heard all offseason and really the main discussion around the tush push coming into the season is whether the play is fair. Going back to my comment earlier, it is an entertainment business. The NFL does not like automatic plays that feel like once you line up, I already know the result. This is boring. I know what's going to happen. NFL doesn't like it. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm saying the NFL does not like it. It's why the NFL pushed back PATs. And now some PATs get missed because the NFL wanted that play to be meaningful. So on a very basic level, the attack on the tush push up until the beginning of this season, I think has really been a function of, is this play good for the game? Is it entertaining? Is it too automatic? That has really been the crux of the discussion so far this year. A new component has emerged in discussing this play and whether or not it'll be around much longer. That new component is whether within the existing rules of the game is the play being consistently executed in a legal way. So after week one, you saw circulating online some overhead still images of the center lining up in front of the ball. So the center's head, if you take it directly overhead with a drone shot, is the center's head in front of the ball, which is illegal. That'd be lining up in the neutral zone. That would be offside, or that would basically be the offense lining up offsides. Now, I had some doubts about those photos because I thought, was that snapped like a tenth of a second after the ball was snapped? And is someone throwing that out as propaganda that like, hey, this shouldn't be legal? And then in the Chiefs-Eagles game, you see images of the guards firing off early, which would make it a false start. That to me is a totally different discussion, right? The play still needs to be executed the right way. And then you get guys like Dean Blandino on Fox who chime in, give their officiating opinion. And Dean, live on the air during this broadcast, was like, guys, I am done with the tush push. He's done talking about it. He's not a fan of it. Probably, he didn't explicitly say this, but probably thinks it shouldn't be a part of the game. Simply because I think from his vantage point, because he only looks at it as an official, he thinks it's too hard to officiate. Because if we can't stand there and see whether or not, based on the alignment of the guys, we can't see whether or not guys are jumping off sides and whatnot. So do I think this is going to be around much longer? I'm starting to have my doubts. But here's my concern, is if you're going to outlaw the tush push and you're going to get rid of it, how do you define the tush push to then be able to get rid of it? Yeah. And not make the definition so broad that you scoop in a bunch of other plays that should be legal that also are considered illegal based on the interpretation of what you call the tush push. So, for example, I think the Eagles, even without pushing Jalen Hurts, would be fantastic at running just a quarterback sneak the same way. A standard quarterback sneak where your guards and center get so low and fire off so quick that Jalen can fall forward without anybody even pushing him. You cannot get rid of a quarterback sneak. That's not going to happen. So do you just say, hey, you can't line up and have guys push him? Well, from what I saw in that game against the Chiefs, you're still going to have the same issue. If the Chiefs line up and execute the way they did, and you're not willing to, with a fine-tooth comb, take a really, really hard look at guys jumping off sides, or false start, I should say, on the offensive side of the ball, then you're going to have the same issue on a quarterback sneak because the Eagles are so aggressive with it, right? It's the official's job to officiate that play correctly.
Yeah.
So that's my bigger concern. It's like, okay, guys, if you want to get rid of it, fine. But I want to hear how you define the play in order to then say, this play, as it's defined, is no longer allowed in football. How the heck are you going to define it? Because you cannot get rid of the quarterback sneak. That's my concern. Practically, how do you get rid of this play?
I think it's hilarious. I think it's so awesome that the Eagles are doing this, and it's causing such an issue throughout the league. It should absolutely not be banned. You're going to penalize a team for being.
So you don't think it should be banned
in general?
But think about all the things I just said.
You
got to officiate it, make sure it's run.
Okay,
legally,
so
though, right?
why did your officials not spend all offseason taking reps, officiating it on with goggles, with whatever you got?
Yeah,
officiating at training camp, at watching preseason games. Watching games from last year, they should be constantly working to be better at officiating because it's a legal play. How everyone's lining up, how everyone's doing. It's a legal play. And I will say this, in defense of the tush push, in defense of the Eagles, there's other teams around the league that are running this play. Are they running as well as the Eagles? No, they're not. Because I've been on teams as well that we've watched film of other plays that the Chiefs run this play, let's run it. We sucked at it because we didn't have the coaches that would coach it up like the Chiefs do. No other team has Coach Stoutland as their O-line coach. He's the best in the game. He's been the best in the game for a long time. Coach Stoutland is the best QB sneak offensive line coach in the history of the game. I coach with, we had a specific name. It will get an explicit rating on here. It's just a body part.
I want my daughters to listen. Don't
yeah, so we're not doing it. We're trying to keep – but everything he does with teaching, the attention to details on the line. There's a reason that O-line's so good. He's a great coach, and they get great O-linemen. There's a reason they can execute it so well because they put all the attention to details in there, and Coach Stoutland is so great at teaching that play, whereas other O-line coaches, no offense to them, you're not as good as Coach Stoutland at doing that. So now you're going to penalize the Eagles for being better coached, better at running the tush push, and executing it.
You can't break the rules, though. No, you're right, but you cannot jump off. You can't false start.
Okay,
you can't
throw it, and we're going to see more penalties called on it for sure.
Yeah.
I get that.
So you think just leave the play and officiate it better?
But I would also say this: there's offsides on the defense a lot of times on this play as well. Yeah. It's both ways. You have to be better at officiating this play. This is a legal play, and the reason this is an issue is because it is executed at such a high level for the Eagles. It is automatic on 4th and 1. It was 98%, 97%.
It's silly,
and that's the only reason is it's a huge part of their arsenal. And I will also say this. Jalen Hurts is your quarterback. We just talked about all his intangibles. He is the best in the game at doing this. There are quarterbacks out there that I know for a fact, and I will not name them, that do not want to run QB sneaks.
Yeah, I agree with that.
QB sneaks suck a lot of times because
it hurt.
You're getting a knee to the head, all these different things. Jalen Hurts put his body on the line. He can squat 500 pounds. He can do all. You have a quarterback that's amazing at doing this play, along with an O-line that is amazing. That is why they are so good at it. It's on the officials. It's on the league to officiate this right. I will not be surprised if next game there's a false start or something called on this play, and that's a part of it going forward. But I think the reason this is an issue is because it's such an automatic play for the Eagles. Kudos to them. Kudos to Coach Stoutland. Kudos to the O-line. Kudos to Jalen Hurts. Everyone involved. You have the best in the game at doing it. No one else can do it. If we're going to start banning this, we got to give Josh Allen a 4-second clock. This is ridiculous. You give him more than 4 seconds, he's making a play.
He's pissed.
No, I am. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think these are silly things. You're not going to penalize a team for being the best at this play. Yes, stop blaming the Eagles. It's up to the refs. They could have called a false start. They could have, but they didn't because they don't know how to do it. They need to practice it.
Yeah.
Their job and their profession is do it. And I know they have a hard job. I know that there's a lot on the line and they get a lot of criticism. Referees aren't going to get a lot of praise. But it is on the league to educate them and get them calling this play correctly because this is an advantage to the Eagles because they're so good at it.
I do agree with that. In theory, if a team builds up their personnel and execution to a point where they run a play within the rules, so call the false start. You shouldn't be banning a play for that reason. I agree 100% with that. But I will say I do think the fact that Jalen squats 600 pounds is overstated with regard to this play. If you watch this play, this is just a side note. Because everyone says this.
Well, the guy pushing him squats 1,000.
Well, exactly. Half the time, Jalen's feet are off the ground. So he's moving forward, but he's being pushed. And what makes this play work is the guards firing out the left. They get underneath the defensive line first. That's what makes this play work. And then you get the guys behind him pushing him. Jalen squatting 600 pounds, maybe his sheer, just his size, he's more compact, matters. It'd be tougher with a guy like you who's 6'6" to get him to be low. But the fact he squats 600 pounds to me is a cool tidbit to throw out when you see the play live. I don't think it impacts the play at all. I think if you took someone with Jalen's size and he squatted 200 pounds, it's still an effective play because of the way everyone else executes. I honestly believe that. His 600-pound squatting has nothing to do with it, in my opinion. Now, one more thing on this play, going back to what I said a minute ago. And this is the unfortunate reality for Eagles fans. This is a entertainment-driven league. And the reality is when the Eagles play on Sunday Night Football, 20 million people are watching. I'm just using Sunday Night Football as an example. Because that Thursday or that afternoon slot for Fox, their game of the week, also gets, I think it even gets more viewers than Sunday Night Football. You might hear people say, oh, it's the top primetime game Sunday night. That's only because the Fox afternoon game is not considered primetime. So Sunday night can say we get the most primetime. Okay, you might, but there are times where the afternoon game for Sunday gets even more. Let's just call it 20 million viewers, which is crazy high. The reality is that the vast majority of people watching those games are football fans. They're not Eagles fans. They're football fans, right? Yes, Eagles fans come out in droves and they watch, but of 20 million people, like way less than a majority are Eagles fans, okay? And so for most of the people watching these games, and the NFL is as reactive as TSA when it comes to like, oh, we're going to see how this goes. Oh, we're going to make a change, right? They're not very proactive. They're reactive. When the NFL hears fans that don't like the fact that when you get to 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 or less, that doesn't even matter. They're gonna line up and run the tush push once, maybe even twice, and it's an automatic first down. As a neutral fan, if I try to put myself in that perspective, and I'm like, let's say I'm not rooting for the Eagles, and I am just a neutral observer of the game and a fan of football, when they get to 3rd and 2, I'm like, just give them the first down. Like you know, you want to see the game speed up, and you're like, just give them the first down, go 1st and 10, and keep. That is not what the NFL wants, and it feels that way, right? Most fans will watch and say, "Oh, here we go, yeah, oh, they didn't get it the first time, do it again, first down, moving on," right? It feels automatic, and the league doesn't like that.
Well,
most fans don't like that, even if you're better at it. I'm not saying this is a fair reason. I'm not saying this is a fair reason to outlaw the play. But remember, the majority is going to speak, and the majority is going to win on this. And if the majority of owners feel a certain way, it's going to change.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this to put a bow on this. You're saying you don't think they should outlaw the tush push. Do you think they will, though?
Oh, I think there's definitely just how it goes. Absolutely.
Will this play be legal in 2 years? You tell me.
I can't tell you with a definitive answer
What do you think? Fast forward 2 years, is this play legal?
I don't know how you make it illegal.
That's
though.
my problem too.
Like how are you like even I go back to when I was in Philly. Almost every time we ran a QB sneak, we got the first down. Almost every time, just a normal QB sneak. Okay,
so they're not going to outlaw QB sneak.
And this is my defense of this play because I get your
you
argument.
Still have to give me an answer.
I don't have an answer because I just.
Can you just make a prediction?
I'm gonna say it's still a play.
So you think they can't find a way?
I don't
to get rid
think
of it.
that you can put this in a court of law or like if you went there and gave the evidence, it should be outlaw.
Okay.
I just don't think there's a way that you can do that. I think it's a bad look for the league if you're going to outlaw a play that a team's really good at. Once again, you're going to put a 4-second clock on Josh Allen. That's not good for the game, but he's amazing after 4 seconds and all those things. But this is my argument with it. Okay, the Eagles are really good for 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Okay, you're playing the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. You're on 4th and 1. Call the tush push if it's that good.
Right.
You know why you can't? Because you don't know how to run the damn play.
I don't know how the hell you practiced it.
But the Eagle, you don't. I'm telling you,
I've been twice in camp, and you just pray no one gets hurt. How the hell do you even practice?
I've been on enough teams that we've watched enough film where players are wide open down the field or plays are amazing, and we have put those plays in, and our coaches didn't necessarily know how to coach them. They're just like, your read is 1A, 2, 3, 4. We're probably going to high-low this defender. They're not teaching it like that team that we watched on film's teaching it. Yeah. That's the play they put in. We can't rep it at that level. So my defense is if this play is that good, every team in the NFL should run it every 4th and 1. But they don't because they don't know how to do it, and they don't have a quarterback that wants to do it.
It's odd because, as you and I both know, it is a copycat league. What I mean by that, most people have heard that phrase before, but when you build a game plan each week, most teams, half the damn game plan is just what the team the week before did against your opponent.
Yeah.
And what
with minor tweaks and motions and shifts, right? Hide it.
And it's funny to me because I'll be sitting there going through the game plan and we're doing an offensive coordinator install meeting, and I'm like, what? We just watched the film of the previous week and like half our plays are what the other team did. This is what you guys get paid for? It's kind of funny actually, but for some reason teams don't do that with the tush push because they can't execute it. And so to your point, no. To finish this conversation, no, I don't think a team that builds personnel and execution and their offensive line coach, Mike Stoutland, does it in such a way that it's always successful should be penalized for that. But I have my suspicions about how this is going to end simply because the way they make decisions, it is an entertainment-built business, an entertainment-driven business. They want eyeballs. They don't want to compromise the integrity of the game. And unfortunately, I think this thing's going to be on the chopping block. I just am very anxious. It's not that I want that. I know we've got a lot of Philly fans listening to this that love Nick and all. So don't come at me and say, you're an idiot, you're not going to get rid of it. I don't want that. I'm just telling you what I think is going to happen. And the thing I'm most intrigued about is how they define the play, objectively define the play, to then be able to outlaw it. Because
that's
in order
the
to outlaw
problem.
it, you have to first tell me what it is.
That's the problem
So
right
put
there.
on paper, what the hell is the play? You tell me. And then someone will say, well, you line up in this formation and you push him forward.
It's
okay,
illegal.
fine.
It's
So
illegal
you're getting rid of the
formation.
guys pushing. You can't push. Okay, fine.
So
That's going to affect other plays because guys get pushed down the field too.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of a quarterback sneak, though. That for sure will not
Well, and they
happen.
have fake tush pushes and stuff, so the formation
Yeah.
can't be banned.
Exactly.
I think it's one of those things where a lot of teams, too, they're paying these quarterbacks so much money, they don't want to keep putting them on QB sneaks.
Yeah.
The Eagles are an anomaly because Jalen Hurts wants to do this.
Right.
He scores a lot of touchdowns doing it. He makes a lot of plays. He keeps a lot of drives going. You're paying Justin Herbert, like, you don't want to have him continue.
He wouldn't be as good at it. He's too tall.
Yeah, but you have the right guy. And I just don't see how they can do it. I think it's bad for the league. I have a list right here of teams that have ran it, but I just know that a lot of offensive coordinators don't want to just go to that. I think it's awesome for the league because I'm waiting to see who's going to stop it. Every time it's ran, I'm like, is this the time that they're going to stop it? I was at the NFC Championship last year when the Commanders played the Eagles, and it was when they went off sides and jumped over the line of scrimmage 3 times in a row. First time in the history of the game I've ever seen this where like a touchdown's awarded. And in my opinion, with all that going on against the Commanders, how they jumped, that's the first time. I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah.
I'm sitting with Mr. Lurie, Bradley Cooper, we're watching the game.
Oh, big time.
Big time. You know, just a little shout out, huge Eagles fan. Still need to try his Philly cheesesteaks.
We're going to get Bradley Cooper on the show.
We'll get him on if he ever gets a clip with our viewership, we'll get him on. But if it was going to be banned, I feel like it would have been this offseason because of what happened in the NFC Championship game.
Yes and no. We had not had open discourse yet about the play being illegal based on the current rules. That's the only issue. Up until now, it was more based on, and again, forgive me if I'm wrong. I follow this stuff closely. It was all based on what's fair and whether or not it was good for the game. Now we're seeing, okay, you're lining up wrong. So they could just say, hey, we're just going to officiate it better. That maybe the league just says that. We're going to be better at officiating it. So then the Eagles tightened up on some things, and they're still successful with it most likely. Because I don't think they're successful because they're breaking rules. This year they just happen, at least ostensibly, it appears that they're breaking rules to do it, jumping off early, lining up in the neutral zone. If they can clean that stuff up, maybe that's all that happens. That's very possible.
Yeah.
So the league historically has been really good at figuring this stuff out, even after the fact. Like, I remember for a while there was teams were incentivized, loophole in the rules, late in games with almost no time on the clock just to grab receivers and get pass interference.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then they figured out a way to stop
Was it
that.
the Ravens?
Yeah.
It was the
And
it changed the next week.
they figured out a way to stop that.
Yep.
And this one, I think they're going to continue to talk about it.
They'll clean it up.
We will see where it goes. I hope they just clean up the way that they call the play and then say, hey, you guys just got to keep a closer eye. If they jump off, you got to call it. Or maybe they allow review of it. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to follow. No question.
You're not going to stop the Eagles with Jalen Hurts on a QB sneak. I don't care how they formulate
even if they
it.
just go straight QB sneak.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating storyline because the play has had a huge effect on games. It's one of the ways they scored in this game. And we'll see where it goes. All right. One of the things we also like to do, obviously, is take audience questions. So we're going to go to our lovely producer, John McCarthy, and we're going to go with a quick hit here on a listener question. What do you got, John?
So you guys actually answered a couple of them. There were a few that were on the tush push, and there was actually a couple on Chris Jones talking trash, but there was a different angle to it. So Glenn Orchel writes, at the end of the Chiefs-Eagles game, Chris Jones...
That's Glenn Ohal. I actually know Glenn.
Oh, Glenn Ohal.
I like that. Thanks for listening, Glenn. We appreciate it, man.
He said that at the end of the Eagles-Chiefs game, Chris Jones was talking trash about the yards, yet Eagles won the game. Are players losing sight of the goal?
I'll go first. No, I don't think so. I think it's just pride. Chris Jones is a Hall of Fame player, and he doesn't like to lose at home. And it's kind of like, it's almost at that point you become like a child where you're like, all right, you might have beat me, but I'm still better. And so what he's saying is, hey, dude, and again, I don't know what was said before that play to lead to that. There was probably more to it than we actually heard. But for Chris to fire off and say that to Saquon Barkley, to say that to the offensive line so everybody could hear it, that, hey, man, you don't even have 100 yards. It's him saying, like, yeah, dude, like, I know you guys won, but don't act like you sit here and beat the hell out of us up and down the field, right? Like, what he's also saying, to give it some context, is you guys had an interception when we were going in to take the lead in the game. This could have easily gone a different way. You did not kick our ass in this game. So, sorry, dude. Like, I'm not taking that. I think it's just a pride thing. I really do. I don't think they're losing sight of the goal. I think the Chiefs are frustrated. They're 0-2 for the first time in God knows how long. I think they're frustrated, and you have a lot of guys on that roster that have a ton of pride, including Chris Jones, and he's not going to go away quietly. That's the way I took that.
No, I agree with everything you just said. I don't think I need to expand on it more than rushing over 100 yards for a running back in the NFL game is not easy.
It's hard.
But you're also – the reason at that time you say your brain goes to a different – they actually took pride that they held Saquon. I don't know what his yardage was. I just know the Eagles won. But the fact that you're just trying to keep Saquon under 100 yards makes me laugh as well. Like that, I mean, that makes me laugh. Like, this is the NFL. This isn't college football. Rushing what Saquon did last year was 125 yards. That is not normal.
Yeah.
That is not normal. So, yeah, kudos to y'all for stopping Saquon, but you didn't stop the Eagles. And that's why the Eagles are so dangerous.
Chris Jones knows.
Yeah.
Hey, like when Jalen said that was the right comeback by Jalen, by the way. It was a perfect comeback.
Oh, I loved it.
Chris has a lot of pride, as he should. I mean, we're talking about guys that are part of a dynasty for the Chiefs. There's a lot of pride there. They expect to win every game they play. I have played on teams that don't expect to win every game they play and just take it. They're frustrated.
Let me give some statistics to like that comment. As long as these are accurate, you got to always check them. But in the normal NFL, like a backup running back, it's going to be around less than 60 yards a game. If you're a solid starter, you're going to be around 60 to 74 a game. You're still going to be a 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah.
If you're above average, 75 to 99. If you're elite, 100. That's the NFL. So most fans will think like, oh, wow, that's really good. Listen, it's not. I mean, I'd have to pull it up, but, that's the thing. That's why Saquon's so good is you're just trying to keep him under 100. I mean, you're still elite. Yeah. That's what's unreal. But that's a great question, though.
Good question. I think it's fair, especially with a team that's 0-2, I think it's fair to ask, like, are you guys, like, forgetting what's the point of this whole thing, right? We talked earlier in the show about how winning just makes everything seem okay too. So let's not forget what the objective is here.
Well, and he rushed for, I guess, 88 yards.
Yeah, and he had some key runs too.
He had a 13-yard touchdown.
Key runs. Like, Saquon did just fine.
Yards per carry, four yards per carry. His longest run was only 13, but that's still a really good game.
It's a hat tip to Saquon that like the bar for success is either over 100 or below 100, and that's the way Chris Jones sees it.
I mean, that's awesome. Yeah. Good for Saquon.
That's good.
Right,
thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, give us another question. Let's do one more.
Good. So there's some broader ones that I don't know if you want to get into now or if you're going to get into later, like which teams will go 3-0, who's going to get handed their first loss. But if we want to stick Eagles-Chiefs, you kind of alluded to this. Scott Stauber asks, do we feel that the Eagles are going to get to the same level on offense that they were towards the end of last year?
It's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is that's just what we've been talking about. I mean, for them to get to that level, it depends on the passing game. We know they're good at rushing. For them to become a complete dangerous offense to where they were Super Bowl champs and Jalen was Super Bowl MVP, they have to get the tight ends, the running backs, the receivers all involved in the passing game. If they do that, they can't be stopped. Yeah. But if they don't, they can be stopped. So the key for them is just continuing to focus on this passing game with the new coordinator and finding that rhythm. Because this is calling plays. Is this his first time calling plays ever?
That I would need to double check.
Yeah, but
first time calling plays in this offense.
Yeah, and that's always my worry with a new OC is you don't have the rhythm of like calling pass plays at the right time. There's an art to it. Sean Payton's one of the best in the game. I know when I played with Doug Peterson and Frank Wright was there, they had a way of calling pass plays that made sense, and they'd call them, and I knew exactly why they were calling them. I knew exactly what my reads were in this specific situation. I knew I wasn't, 3rd and 5. Maybe I have a go ball. They're not calling it for the go ball on 3rd and 5. They like this to this to this. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm reading these defenders. The defense is going to show me where I'm going to go with the ball based on how they play it. It's an art, and he probably hasn't mastered that art yet, but as he goes, the key for him as a play caller is putting Jalen Hurts in a position, whether it's a movement, a play action, whatever it may be, for his strength to execute the passing game. Not just what are good passing plays, what does Jalen Hurts need to become a more efficient passer as the season goes on. Once again, we're only week 2 of the season. They're 2-0. Everyone's still getting comfortable. They don't play a lot in the preseason. I'm a firm believer through the first 6 games, that's where you start getting rhythm, and after that, you sort of figure it out. So they're only week 2, not worried about, but focus on the passing game.
I think the answer is yes, especially given the personnel continuity from a year ago. It will be helpful to have Dallas Goedert back out there, but all the key pieces are there. The offensive line has not changed dramatically. Same quarterback, same running back, receivers are there. Kevin Patullo has to continue to get more comfortable. Not only is it a rhythm with play calling, but remember, building the game plan is something that he does all week long, and we know Kellen Moore was really good at it. He proved it in Dallas. He proved it in Philly. and he's in the process of trying to prove it in New Orleans with an inferior roster. But it's going to be really important for Kevin Patullo to find stride and not only find the right rhythm in calling plays, but building the right game plan. That's the part that we don't see that happens all week long, is how they do that stuff when they build the game plan. Remember, Detroit is the other kind of notable offensive coordinator change. Ben Johnson becomes the head coach for Chicago. John Morton is the offensive coordinator in Detroit. Didn't look good week 1. Now, part of that's because the Packers are really good defensively and it created a lot of trouble for them. But they looked at it.
They got a new DN, right?
Who?
Packers.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're number 1 or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
But John Morton, week 1, struggled to find a rhythm. And part of that's because they were losing, and they're like a run-first football team, and so he was struggling to kind of build off of that. They looked much better in week 2. Similar situation, very similar personnel continuity from a year ago, and he's trying to figure out how to make this toy his own. Kevin Patullo is trying to do the same thing. I would be surprised by the middle of the season if Philly was not clicking offensively at a higher level than they are right now. One really cool play in that game we need to give Jalen Hurts credit for is on, was it 4th down? They end up going for it. It's obvious they're getting zero pressure, no free safety, man-to-man across the board. Everybody else is blitzing. It was obvious what was happening before, and my thought before the snap was when Jalen gets this ball, they don't have enough guys protecting, and I know he's going to throw it, so he has to get it out quick because they have extra guys coming. And he's probably going to have to throw it running backwards.
Yep.
And he did, and he didn't overthrow it.
He threw a good ball.
In cases like this, it's better to underthrow it and let the receiver come back to it.
That or pass interference. It's great.
So he throws, going backwards, he throws a go ball to Devontae Smith. That was a great play. That was, I mean, he saw what was coming. I'm guessing Kevin Patullo before the play was like, hey, we're expecting zero. Your outlet, if you've got it, running backwards, chuck it up to one of the guys, let him go make a play, hopefully get a penalty. That's what they did. So things like that give you hope, a glimmer of hope of what's to come for this offense. And like we said, Jalen has room to improve, and I think he will, for that matter. So that's good stuff. We appreciate all listeners coming with questions. We'll try to hit as many as we can. All right, we want to play a quick game here. The game is called This or That. As we mentioned early in the show, there is a lot of different ways to interpret results of games. I think Denver's a classic example of that. Like, or I should say, I think Indy's a good example of that. Like, did Indy, they beat a terrible Miami team week 1, and then by virtue of a penalty won game 2, and they're 2-0. Are they really good, or are we probably thinking too highly of them because they were lucky to squeak by in week 2? So my point is, there's contrasting opinions we can have on games. We're going to present 2 different viewpoints on really cool topics and go one way or another. Nick and I are going to ask each other. This game is called This or That. Nick, you go first.
First off, next time we do this, remind me not to drink watermelon juice or watermelon water because it runs straight through you and you have to take a piss, but it tastes really good.
Oh, good.
Increases blood flow. Shout out.
I think I might have had too many milligrams. But anyway.
All right, so my first question is this or that. Jake Browning orchestrated a 92-yard game-winning drive to beat Jacksonville after Cincinnati's Joe Burrow had a toe injury. He had 3 interceptions, though, and 2 touchdown passes. Do the Bengals have a chance to stay on track with Browning, or did Jacksonville just blow it and the Bengals season is over?
I love the way you say Bengals, by the way. Bengals?
Bengals?
Is that like I know you're from Texas and you got like some...
Bengals?
No, you say Bengals.
Bengals.
How about just Bengals?
Bengals.
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 You hear that? He says it like it's spelled Bingles.
Bengals.
Bengals.
Yeah.
Anyway, different dialect.
No.
Okay, so I think it's a really good question. Jake Browning is, we're going to get into our next segment is going to be on backup quarterbacks and what they have to face this week. So your question was, do the Bengals have a chance to stay on track with Browning, or did Jax just blow it? Should we be optimistic about Jake Browning, or should we just say, I'm not liking this?
Yep.
Covered Jake Browning a lot in college. He was a good college quarterback. I'm surprised he's still in the league. Not because I don't think he's a good player. I'm just surprised he's lasted this long because I don't think there's any kind of unique arm talent, and he's obviously not very mobile. But that's not where I'm going with this. The Bengals and what they've done, this is criminal. Absolutely criminal what they've done with pass protection since they drafted Joe Burrow. Since Joe Burrow started in the league in 2020, after having a prolific college career and capping it off with probably the best offense I've ever seen in college at LSU, this is their pass pro ranks each year since Joe Burrow was a rookie in 2020. There's 32 teams in the league. In 2020, in order till 2025, they were 29th, then 30th, then 30th, then 27th, then 32nd last year, and Joe still had a hell of a year. And this year so far, they're 28th. This is by ESPN research based off of like success in pass protection. That is absolutely criminal. And it's why when we talk about the Bengals and we talk about the strategy of the Cowboys getting rid of Micah Parsons, the Bengals have so much money wrapped up in Joe Burrow, in Jamar Chase, in T. Higgins, and now Trey Hendrickson at $30 million a year. They have other holes on their roster. You go buy yourself a new toy out of LSU and Joe Burrow in 2020 who has generational type talent at the position, and that's what you surround him with. It's utterly embarrassing that that's the way this team has gone. And so my concern for Jake Browning is not just, hey, Jake is probably in over his head. He's not an NFL starter, and he cannot lead your team to the playoffs, even though they are 2-0. It's going to be a good case study here. They are 2-0. This team has been since 2020, so bad at protecting the passer that there's no way, if Joe can't do it, there's no way, especially with Joe's numbers, that Jake Browning is going to be able to be successful as they move forward. There's just no way. Jake is not even a shred of Joe Burrow's talent either, but I'm not even going there.
Well.
Like Joe Burrow had a historical year last year as far as production, stats, all that. He's the leading passer in the league, yards-wise. And last year they were 32nd in the league in pass protection. Now, granted, he's got Jamar Chase, arguably the best receiver in the league. He's got T. Higgins, who's a hell of a number 2. He's got weapons, but that's embarrassing. And part of it is because you're playing from behind a lot, so you're chucking it around a bunch. So maybe Joe's stats were a little bit inflated. But 32nd in the league? So no, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to be fine because they weren't fine with Joe Burrow. It wasn't sustainable. Joe Burrow is a fantastic player, Hall of Fame type talent. But this is ridiculous what the Bengals have done with him. And maybe it's because they made some stupid decisions on tying up certain guys for certain amounts of money, but they have holes in key positions, and I've got my doubts. So the answer is no. I think Jacksonville blew it. They should be ashamed of themselves. And at 2-0, and this is not a leap by any means, the Bengals are not going to make the playoffs at 2-0 with Jake Browning starting the rest of the year. Not all Jake's fault. It's the other issues that will continue to show up over the course of the year. The Bengals just have too many holes. And by the way, like I mentioned before, the Bengals last year had the leading passer in the league, leading receiver in the league in Jamar Chase, and the leading sack getter in the league in Trey Hendrickson. They didn't make the playoffs. When you have other holes on your roster, hey, cool, those 3 guys, you guys can eat, do all you want. You're not going to consistently win football games. And that's where the Bengals are.
Love it. I got nothing else to say. This or
It
that.
pisses me off. It's
yeah.
like, what? Like,
no, it's frustrating.
Okay. I kind of already hinted at this one, but Indy is the first team in the NFL history. This is freaking awesome. Indy is the first team in NFL history to not punt one time in the first 2 games. Who saw that coming? They also scored on their first 10 possessions of the season. Unbelievable. And they're now 2-0. So my question for you, Nick, this or that. Is Indy for real? Or did they play a terrible Miami team and then got lucky to beat Denver because Denver committed some dumb penalties down the stretch? Most obviously, the leverage penalty that allowed them to re-kick the field goal and win the game. Which one is it with Indy?
I think Indy's for real. I've just been waiting for Shane Steichen to get a quarterback that is younger in his age, that can conduct his offense. I mean, Daniel Jones can also run really, really well. He has some speed, but he's a great passer. And it seems like just watching clips on the sideline, everyone's really excited for him being 2-0. I think that's important in a locker room when you can rally around a guy that had a tough time with the Giants where, they paid him some and then they sort of put it all on him. It also, I mean, the Giants sort of have a history of getting rid of their star players and they go somewhere else and do well. I mean, look at Saquon, right?
Yeah.
Daniel Jones could be this year's Saquon from the Giants where he's a gift to another team and he helps that team have a lot of success. So I love Shane Steichen. I love the way the Colts are playing right now. It's exciting for them. That was my last year playing in the NFL was in Indianapolis. I think they have a quarterback that they can really win with. The key is keeping him healthy. He's got to stay healthy because after that, I don't know. I mean, they have the guy that can run the offense the way Shane wants to run it. And if he stays healthy, they're going to be in a great position this year. So I'm a believer in the Indianapolis Colts this year.
Love it.
All right. So I got another this or that. Last week, week 1, Steelers offense looked great against what appears to be a bad Jets team. He was 22 of 30 with 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions.
That's Aaron, right?
That's Aaron Rodgers, quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then they played a Seattle team that stopped their run game with 2 high safeties, and Aaron struggled to get it going. 18 of 33 for 203 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, and sacked 3 times with a 58 passer rating. Steelers also have had the highest paid defense in the league with $169 million of the cap committed to it. That's nearly $18 million more than the next team. Defense is near the bottom in total defense and points allowed. Pass defense is struggling as well. All right, this is the this or that. Steelers have a serious issues covered up by a bad Jets team in week 1, or Seattle, the Seahawks, are legit defensively and Steelers are just fine and Aaron will continue to improve in this offense.
I'm going to go with the first part. And I do think Aaron will have some very bright moments this year. But I think the Steelers have some serious issues right now. Aaron, after the game, mentioned that, and he said it perfectly. He said, and this is something I noticed throughout the course of the game, he said Seattle was consistently playing too high, meaning 2 safeties deep, which is tough to consistently throw against. And we could not run the ball effectively enough to get them out of it. Seattle, I think, is ultimately, when this season's over, will be a top 5 defense. So I don't want to overstate. That's why there's some truth to the second part of this as well. They won't see that every week. Like this week, they're playing New England, and we're going to get to our picks later. Like, New England's not very good defensively. So we could see the Aaron from week 1 more than we see the Aaron from week 2. But when they play good defenses, they have a problem.
Yep.
Right? Because they can't – Aaron's not what he used to be as far as his mobility and being able to improvise and create. So from the pocket, it's really difficult to win when you cannot get a team out of 2 high safeties, as you know. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to do. And then secondly with the Steelers, like you said, and this is a huge problem. If we talk about percentage of the cap, this year the Steelers are number 1 in football as far as what they're spending on defense from a cap hit standpoint. So they have made a commitment to that side of the ball, right? Only so far this year it's not working. They're towards the bottom of the league in pretty much every statistical category defensively. And that is a huge problem for the Steelers. And they can't get off the field, total defense, yards per game, all those things are a huge problem. And so you don't spend that kind of money. And by the way, they're like $18 million more than the next team, the next defense in the NFL, the second highest paid defense in the NFL. That's how much more they've spent this year. We're talking like you said it, $169 million or so of the $272 million cap. That is a lot of dough. And it's not working. So the Steelers, I'm not going to go so far to say as they won't beat the Patriots this week, but as far as elite teams go in the league, this is a different makeup of what we're so used to seeing with the Steelers, the steel curtain, and when you play there and all the things you got to deal with. This is a different team. It's a team that is going to try to score 30 plus per game. Defense has not done what they're supposed to do. I mean, you think about guys like Cam Hayward and Watt and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, they're spending a lot of money on these dudes, and those guys have shown up. But there are other holes on the defense. And when you can't consistently run the ball and get them out of too high and scare a team enough, especially, obviously with Aaron at quarterback, they're going to play too high until you show them you can run the ball. You have to find a way to get that done. So at this moment in time, the Steelers have more issues than I anticipated, especially after week 1. Aaron, in his post-game presser, basically had the mindset of like, hey, relax, like he always does, right? Yeah. It's week 2, stop.
Yep.
Fair. It is week 2. We've seen 2 different types of Steelers offenses so far. But it wasn't very good this week. Yeah. And I think there are issues, and I'm worried about it for the Steelers.
Okay, love it.
Last one for Nick. Baker Mayfield, a guy I'm starting to like more and more and more. Didn't love him coming out when he was with Cleveland as the number 1 overall pick, but I like him now. He's 2-0. Key drives in each game, late in the game, to win on the road. So I ask you this with this or that. Baker is just a gamer that has always been what he is now and was just in bad situations before. By the way, when he was like in Carolina and with the Rams, it felt like we may never see him play again as a starter. So Baker's a gamer that's always been what he is right now. He's just in the right situation. Or he's matured and come a long way since starting in the league, and he's evolved and become the best version of himself right now.
Yeah, I'm going to throw you a curveball because I can combine the two in this. He's absolutely a gamer that has that ability and has always been that way, but he's also matured at an intense level throughout the last several years. I think once he left Cleveland in his journey, that creates maturity. When he went to L.A., he had like a day to learn the playbook and went out there and was able to find a victory. That's very difficult to do. I think throughout this journey, he's probably learned a lot. Married, child, his own walk in his life, what's going on. He's maturing. He's getting older. And you see that in Tampa Bay. He went to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that had Tom Brady that sort of helped build that culture in there, and he got to bring in his own type of quarterback play to tweak the culture, but they already had a solid culture there. So I think it's a combination of the both, more so the maturity, though. Last year, 4,500 yards passing, 41 passing touchdowns, 106.8 passer rating. Those are some elite statistics, and I think the big thing is this with him. When he has the ball at the end of the game like the other night, when he had it and he had a chance to win, in my bones, I'm like, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like if he does it, wow, I'm surprised. I was going to be shocked if he did not make plays, whether it's scrambling around or a big throw or getting out of the pocket on the run, doing what he did, running for the first down, getting flipped, all those things. I love seeing that, and the sideline loves seeing that. So it's definitely a combination of the both. He's always been a baller, Austin, Texas boy. I'm a little biased being from Austin, but on every level he's had success, and he just so happens to be with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that fits him perfectly, and he'll be there for a long time. So I love to see the maturity in him as a person and as a leader, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be a tough team this year with him playing quarterback.
Tampa's definitely got a chance to go 3-0 this week too. They play a Jets team that's not going to have Justin Fields, and Baker's come a long way, and I'm a fan. Like, there's something about Baker that has the same grit that he's always had, but there's more of a feeling of humility too. He's become very likable.
Yeah.
Probably because he's kind of become the underdog now. He was never the underdog before, but after a couple different stops elsewhere and being remember when he got to the Rams and had to play like the week he arrived and ended up playing pretty well.
He won.
He's become an underdog, and to see him come all the way back is very likable. And Baker's, for me at least, Baker has become a very likable, gritty quarterback that I enjoy watching play. So it's really cool. Okay, moving on to backup quarterbacks. So we already are having discussions about backups. Carson Wentz is going to start for Carson Wentz, by the way, who is not on the roster in training camp. He was signed at the end of camp. Hasn't even been there that long. Carson Wentz is going to start for J.J. McCarthy, who's out with an ankle. We saw Mac Jones start last week for Brock Purdy. Played a nice game, 26 of 39 for 279 and 3 touchdowns. They ended up winning in New Orleans. Jake Browning is going to start for Joe Burrow, like we already discussed. Tyrod Taylor will start for Justin Fields, who's out with a concussion for the Jets. And we don't have final word on Jaden Daniels yet. But if Jaden Daniels with his sprained knee is unable to go, especially given his style of play, and you wonder if he can run and all that, they'll go with Marcus Mariota, who obviously is a very serviceable backup, very capable backup. Nick, of these 5, now you've talked about your experience as a backup in Philly and how, after the Super Bowl year, you really started to feel the difference in when an offense is built for a certain guy versus a different guy. Like, offenses, it's hard to pivot in 1 week to a different guy if the skill set is different. With that in mind, is there any of these quarterbacks that you think this lines up well for because they're similar enough to where the system's going to be the same? Or is there another reason why you look at this and think that guy's going to either have a lot of success or not very much success based on these 5 quarterbacks, these backups that are probably going to play this week?
Yeah, when I look at this list of backup quarterbacks, I think all these teams did a nice job of having a backup that was similar enough to their starter where the offense does not need to change dramatically.
Okay.
Now, success going in this week, that's a different thing. I do have my opinions on success, and I'm going to go down the list. Carson Wentz for J.J. McCarthy. I know Carson just got there. Obviously know Carson really well. I think Carson's going to do really well in this game for the Vikings because they're also playing the Bengals.
The Bengals.
Right? The Bengals. I think he'll have success. I did a little dive into him, and it was like 3-2 in first game starting with a new team. He's got over 100 passer rating in that first game, and that might be a first game of the season. The one time he didn't was last year with the Chiefs when they benched all their starters and they played the Chargers. That was like in the 80-something passer, and they lost that game, but it was a tight game. So Carson's a very intelligent quarterback. Obviously, everyone knows he can do stuff with his legs, but he's a really sharp, understanding coverages, all those things. I think he'll have success. I think that's a good fit. If I'm the Minnesota fans, I'm not worried. I'm actually excited to see Carson play. Mac Jones for Brock Purdy. Love this. Mac Jones had a great game last week. I think he fits really well in this offense. He understands the scheme. I think he's going to have high success and potentially have an opportunity if he plays in a few more games to go to a team next year and be a bridge guy and have an opportunity. So this is a great opportunity for him. We talked about Jake Browning for Joe Burrow. I don't know how you have success without pass blocking. If you're sitting in the pocket and you don't have I don't care who you are. We've seen Pat Mahomes as well. When he gets pressured, he's not Pat Mahomes. You have to have a great O-line to block for you. I don't see Jake Browning have a lot of success. I know he's had games throughout his career where he's done well. This is going to be very difficult. I'm not sold on that. Tyrod Taylor for Justin Fields. Tyrod's been around the league for a while. He's filled in for the Jets last year some. I don't know how that's going to go with the Jets. I don't.
Similar skill set though, right?
It's a similar skill set. He's older now, but still he throws a great deep ball. His deep ball statistics are really nice. Similar skill set. I think it's not going to be that much of a difference. Justin's probably just got a little bit more juice running right now, but it won't be that much difference. Great guy to have as a backup, especially being a veteran with Justin. This is the one that's tough, man. If Jaden does play, I'm worried because if you got a sprained knee, I partially tore my MCL a couple months ago, and that's considered like a sprain.
Mm-hmm.
man, that is extremely painful, and the ability to move around is absolutely limited for a few weeks, depending on the severity of it. So
A sprained knee?
a sprained knee.
Which leg?
My third. No, my right knee. I was skiing with you. That's what I get for skiing. Yeah, maybe we might have just got it explicit, but have fun with that. But
You have 3 MCLs? You know a third leg could have an MCL? I did not know that. I'm not gonna lie. I learn something new on this show every day. Does it have an ACL too?
it's got them all. That's why you drink watermelon juice. Maybe we get a watermelon juice
Carry
sponsor.
on. Carry on.
So Marcus Mariota for Jaden Daniels. That's the interesting one. I love Marcus. He can't fill in and do what Jaden does in that sense. I know he can run around and do that. He can't throw like Jaden. Jaden's a really good passer. That's the one that I think that'll be a difficult one for the Commanders to overcome with Marcus. Love him as a quarterback and a person and how he's represented himself as a player, but he can't do what Jaden does. So that's a little bit different. But that's sort of my assessment of the backups. If I'm choosing two, I'm choosing Carson Wentz and Mac Jones to have success this week based on their team and the type of offense they're playing in.
Yeah, these we'll get to our picks here at the end. The backup quarterback situation and the viability of these guys will certainly affect the way we pick these games. So we'll be there shortly. Okay, so let's move on to – we're each going to give one item right now in the NFL coming off of week 2, going into week 3, that maybe you think too many people are overlooking or not talking enough about. What do you got, Nick?
I can choose 2.
I mean,
you said
if
one.
You gotta, if you got to go 2, you can. I prefer 1, but if you got to go 2, you can go 2.
I'll combine them both.
Just something that if people only watch a lot of the main shows on ESPN, Fox, like what is not getting enough attention or discussion that you want to bring to our attention?
I mean, around the league, and I haven't been able to watch every game from beginning to end, but I watch them like everyone else does, like little spots here and there, the 4-box thing where you're just overstimulated all the time, like the Jason Kelce commercial where he's screaming and it's a lot going on. The thing I've been most impressed about, so much so that I had to hit up my buddy Pat O'Donnell, who was a punter in the league for a long time and co-founder of our brand, was the field goal kicking. Every time I go on a game, it's like a 50-plus yard field goal, 60-yard field goal, and they're kicking it through the uprights. And so that is my first one that I'm going to expand on in a second. And then this goes with special teams and a team – well, it's not really special teams, but the Colts have not punted this season. I think that is a case study in itself. In one game, that's perfectly understood. That happens every now and then. Mm-hmm. That's an elite game.
But against the Broncos defense.
Against the Broncos defense in a week 1 game. Like
that was Miami, but Broncos defense too, yeah.
I don't. But I'm just saying week 1 you haven't played yet. Like you usually sputter and you're punting left and right. I'm gonna start with Brandon Aubrey's 64-yard field goal and just kicking. What he's doing in Dallas is absolutely amazing, and I hope Jerry locks him up for a while because what he's doing is a huge advantage. He should be outlawed from kicking because he's so good. The league needs to stop him from kicking because Dallas has the best kicker in the game.
He's more automatic than the tush push is what you're saying.
So let's ban him kicking field goals, okay? I'll put in a little thing. We got to ban him from kicking field goals. He's too good.
But as a quarterback, when you know you only need to get to the 50 and you're now in field goal range, he's worth 3 wins this year.
When you have a field goal kicker like I had in Philadelphia with Jake Elliott or whatever that you know is going to kick it through the uprights, it is a huge advantage. And when your field goal kicker is struggling, you're all the time thinking, man, we just got to try to score a touchdown. Like we can't. And same thing with a punter. When I've had great punters, I didn't try to force balls in a game where sort of a field position game. I wanted to play smart because an interception, they run that back. That's a big play for the defense. But if you're like, hey, I don't have it. Okay, I'm going to check it down. Our punter's going to put him inside the 20 because he's a great punter. That helps the quarterback. It helps the team. So that being said, so I had to find out what's going on, though, because something had to change. So I asked Pat, what's going on? Because I know before games, the equipment guys would have like a couple hours to break down, break in 6 balls that are out of the package. So if anyone's gotten an NFL football, they're all waxy, the leather's all hard, and they only have 2 hours to break this down. New NFL football. That was the rules. And I knew something had to change. So, and I'm sure I'll get fact checked on this, but Pat was saying they got rid of that. They want to see more kicks go through the upright. Last year was a tough year kicking. There was a lot of major kickers last year that had some trouble. But this year, they get to use their balls that they've broken at their facility.
Justin Tucker, he had a little bit of trouble.
He had a little bit of trouble.
Yeah. With his balls.
But he, Westlake teammate right there.
Sorry.
We won't go there. But like whether it's steam room, mud, the amount of times they've been kicked that allow them, I guess, when you kick it, go further, more accurate, whatever it may be. Also, they're comfortable. The kickers have kicked with these balls. They've probably chosen these balls. It's the same thing before a game. I'm not using new NFL footballs. On Friday after practice, as a quarterback, I'm sitting with the equipment guys after our practice. They have 30 footballs. We have a bag of 10 and another bag of 10. The first bag of 10 is game balls. So I go through all the balls. They toss them to me. I toss it to someone real quick, fill it out. Hey, that's good. Put it in the game ball. And that's a good backup ball.
I didn't know this.
That's an awful ball. Let's get rid of that. And it just depends on the environment. Like if it's a humid game, I didn't want as much tack because I knew my hands would be sweaty. If it was a cold weather game, I needed a lot more tack because it's drier. So I would choose the football. So when I played on game day, those were the balls that I had chosen on a Friday that we were playing with.
And normally kickers would have to kick with those balls, right?
No, kickers would not. Kickers would have their balls broken in on game day. So they would never have kicked with these balls. The first time would probably be, I don't even know if they kicked with them in warm-ups, probably in the game.
Wow.
So they've never kicked with them. So there's just a difference, and there's it changes things. So now they're getting to have their balls broken. Man, we're saying balls a lot. How many times have we said balls in this thing? It's messing with my head. But that's the difference. I think we're seeing that, and I think it's good for the league, though. It's good for the game. Like, why would you make the equipment guys before the game spend 2 hours in there in a closet? And I've seen it. It's like a little closet. They're sweating like crazy, mud everywhere, and they are trying to get these perfect. But they also have all these other responsibilities. Now they got rid of that, and they can just take the facility balls, which they've been kicking with, and they're executing at a high level. I think that has to be a factor.
So they can just use their own kickers' balls that are broken in. Perfect. They can use
they
those
fly
now.
a little bit better.
And you think that's positively impacting their performance?
Yeah, I mean, like let these don't make them kick with a brand new. Like if you made me throw or any of these quarterbacks throw with a brand new ball that's not, even the ones that are broken in with mud, the first day of practice throwing them a lot of times, it's fine and they feel good, but you don't. Those aren't going to be your game day balls.
Yeah.
Those balls that you use that first week of broken in will probably be used 2 weeks 2 weeks down the road. That's why during training camp you're constantly breaking in balls and then you're putting them away. Breaking in balls, putting them away because you want an arsenal of them.
Not deflating them, just breaking them in.
Yeah, there are teams that are deflating them, and those teams are now in boxes listening to plays and also broadcasting. Like I just don't get all this stuff. I don't get how we're not seeing this as a big picture of all these little.
But to be clear, like
advantages.
you're not changing the composition of the ball, or
No,
like,
they're just broken in.
It's broken in. Yeah, instead of being brand new.
It's like if I went to the golf course right now and I was like, hey, you're just going to play this set of golf clubs that aren't fitted for you.
Yeah.
And you've never used this brand. Well, that's not good. You use this brand. But you get my point. Like, you've never used them. You're not comfortable with them. You're going to have some good shots, but you're also going to miss some shots that you normally wouldn't.
Right.
Whereas, hey, if I take you to a golf course, it might not make a difference with both of us, but if you're a good golfer, like we're both still figuring it out.
Don't go there.
But if I use my own clubs, I should be more accurate with them.
Yeah.
So that was the analogy I came through. It probably wasn't the best, but I do think it's good for the league. I do think I'm waiting for people, and I'm not watching like ESPN SportsCenter or whatever they are. I don't even know if they're talking about this. Specialists don't get enough love. These special teams players, I mean, Brandon Aubrey's the reason they won that game.
Mm-hmm.
Got him in the overtime, and then that was a 64-yard game time, and then he wins with like a 46-yarder.
46, yeah.
He won the game.
Sure.
Like, that's an advantage. A 64-yard field goal, and that would have been good from 72.
All you got to do is reach midfield with the guy.
And that's insane.
It's a field goal. And for those of you that are like, where the hell did this guy come from? He was a professional soccer player.
Yeah.
And I compare it to like when you see Xander Schauffele swing a golf club. It looks effortless, and you're like, how does he get so much distance? It doesn't even look like he's swinging hard.
Yeah.
Brandon Aubrey's leg swing is so casual.
Yeah.
And again, he was a soccer player, right? His leg swing is so casual that you're like, and he gets height on his 64-yard field goals. Normally those things come out lower. So like, the defense is thinking like we got a better chance to block it because he wants distance, therefore his trajectory won't be as much. He gets like the same trajectory on a 64-yarder than he gets on like a 40-yarder. So they're hard to block, and it's so effortless as he comes through that you're like, I don't know that I've seen anything like this. Like he makes it look so easy. And to your point, what could be helping these kickers relative to past years is that they can actually use balls that they're comfortable with and that are broken in.
Yeah.
So that's a big change this year.
One question for you is, because it's so automatic, does Brandon get kicked out of the league next year because he's too good?
It's a fair point. And if you're asking questions and you're peppering the league competition committee with regard to whether or not the tush push gets outlawed, that's a great question to ask, right? Brandon Aubrey, I know you moved back the extra point, but he's automatic from anywhere from 50 yards and in 100%, and even 60, you're like, it's going in. So should they ban him? It's totally fair. Just to wrap this part up, though, about one thing we think is not getting talked enough about. If you watch football this weekend, you watch the Steelers and the Seahawks game, you've at least heard, if you didn't see the game, you heard about the game-changing play where the Seahawks kicked off. It landed before the end zone, so it landed between the goal line and like the 15-yard line. The landing zone technically is the goal line and the 20-yard line. It landed in that area and then rolled into the end zone. The rookie kick returner for the Steelers thought, oh, it just went in the end. He didn't touch it. He like almost touched it, but didn't.
Oh, so he did not touch that.
He didn't touch it, but it doesn't matter. So it lands in the landing zone, bounces, goes into the end zone. He looks back and sees it, treats it like a punt, and goes like, that's a touchback, and starts running to the sideline. And then the Seahawks players, I'm sticking with special teams here. The Seahawks players make a heads-up play and go jump on the ball. George Halani. It's a touchdown. Even the ref was like, wait a second. Yep, that's a touchdown. Throws his hands in the air, touchdown. The Steelers made an unforgivable mistake in that game that really costed them the game because they couldn't really turn it around after that. I'm not sure they would have won the game either way, but that really sealed it for them to lose the game. What is frustrating for me in hearing that is that everyone's like, oh, the new rules. Yeah, there are new kickoff rules this year. Like the ball has to land in the kick, as far as landing in the landing zone and all that. But for the last decade plus, that is a touchdown for the Seahawks. That's one thing I think people have failed to acknowledge, meaning when a kickoff is always live. When the ball hits the ground and bounces around, it is live. If it lands in the end zone, now it's different. But if it lands in the field of play and rolls into the end zone for the last 30-plus years, that has been a live ball. So it's inexcusable if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm not saying they've made any excuses as to the rules being different, but the analysis on this, all I've heard so far this week is, oh, what a crazy mistake. You had a young guy back there, and with the new rules and landing zone rules, he should have had a more – it was kind of a bonehead play, and the Seahawks scored. No. Or I should say, yes, it was a bonehead play, but it blows my mind that mistake was made because that has nothing to do with the rule changes this year. That ball landed in the field of play, rolled into the end zone. Even when I was playing in the NFL and way before me, that is still a live ball. And for that kid to miss that is a huge blunder by him, but also the special teams coach in Pittsburgh, who's very well, people think very highly of him. He's been a good coach for a long time. But mistakes like that can cost you games, and it has nothing to do with this year's rule change. I think it's something people are overlooking. A huge bonehead mistake in a game, and mistakes like that can cost you games. And I think we saw that with the Steelers. So
and I think
to mention it.
Yeah, one more thing to add to that. I mean, it sucks it happened to a young player, and I agree with everything you said. He should have known that because I know we go through tapes of what happens around the league. That play will be played on every single team's Saturday meeting where you spend 15 minutes and there's unique things or unique calls. Like they're going to show the tush push stuff, like whatever it may be. Every single team in the NFL will see that play and will be educated on it. So I doubt that ever happens again. As long as guys are paying attention in meetings, it might.
Well, no, I agree with you. I'm not saying that it won't happen again. I'm saying that my guess is you're right. It'll be shown in every meeting room this week.
Meeting room, not just special teams. Team meeting room
as a learning moment.
But
I honestly believe that of the 32 teams, let's say each team has like one or two kickoff returners that are usually back there. I think that 31 other teams will look at that and be like, what is that dude thinking?
Yeah.
We all know, like, there's things that happen where you go, oh, my God, I'm glad he made that mistake, so I don't make that mistake. And you're like, okay, I'm glad I know that now. God, he's the one that had to get embarrassed for it, but we all learn from it. I have a hard time believing that any of the other kick returners in the league are going to see that and think, oh, I didn't know that. I'm really glad that this happened, so now that no. This is a rule that's been around forever. That ball goes in the end zone. It's a live ball. Huge mistake by a young player.
This is a rookie.
He'll learn from it. But I think here's my problem with it. This is why you don't put young guys back there.
Yes.
Right?
That's
because
also
you're a really good special teams coach. You don't put a young guy back there because this is the kind of stuff that happens. He had a total brain fart, bonehead play where he forgot, not a new rule, and he lets it roll into the end zone. It's a touchdown. This is why you don't put young kick returners back there. Right? So I put this just as much on the coaching staff, even though they could say, oh, I told him this. No. This is why you don't do it.
It's a rookie running back.
This is why you don't do it.
Yeah.
Right? It's very simple. All right, one more fan question before we get to picks. John, what do you got?
Well, I guess this is perfect segue. So this guy, or actually it's Laura Woolley, playing survival football.
Miss Woolley.
You know Miss Woolley?
We do.
Okay, so playing survivor football, which teams go 3-0 in week 3? Which would you bet on to pull a W, and which ones are due for their first L?
Why don't you read us our 3-0 teams right now, or 2-0 teams, 2-0, because I have our 0-2 teams written down. We need a list of all of our 2-0 teams.
Lara, you asked a great question. So right now, we got Green Bay Packers. We got Indianapolis Colts. We have Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Los Angeles Rams. Los Angeles Chargers. San Francisco 49ers. Arizona Cardinals. Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, go ahead. Who loses? Who goes? I think it's obvious who loses this week.
Well, I got to pull up the games of who all of them
All right,
are
all
playing.
lead.
Yeah, lead.
The team that's 0-2 that falls to.
That's 2-0 that falls.
Excuse me. That's 2-0 that falls to 2-1. Look, I don't love Minnesota this year, and I have no idea how Carson Wentz is going to play. But I think Minnesota beats the Bengals. I think the Bengals have too many issues.
Yep, I like that.
And I think the Bengals fall to 2-1 with Jake Browning. Not all Jake Browning's fault. I think their pass protection is atrocious, and I think it's going to catch up with them. I think they're fortunate to be 2-0 at this point. I think that's the first team that goes down this week of the 2-0 teams.
The Bengals.
Yes, the Bengals, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
Who else?
So looking at this list, I would say another team that I think would drop would be the LA Rams at Philadelphia. I think that's a high possibility going into Philly. I think they go to 2-1. Honestly, an intriguing game is the San Francisco 49ers versus the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
You got two 2-0 teams, so one of those will be 2-1. Which one will it be? I mean, Kyler Murray's healthy. Cardinals playing well. I don't know. I mean, that one's a toss-up for me. But I do think the Rams don't beat the Eagles at home.
I'm definitely not going to say the Bills, Lara, because I might fall asleep in this Thursday night game with a 12.5-point spread in Miami going to Buffalo. And Buffalo's looked really good. Josh Allen's going to be wearing a shield or a visor because he has a broken nose, but I think they'll be just fine. So I think that's kind of where we land on the teams that are going to lose. The teams that I feel really strongly will continue to roll. I love the Packers going in and beating Cleveland. That's kind of an obvious one.
I love that.
One more thing, team I'm a little worried about this week is I think the Chargers look really good. They've played really well defensively. They haven't been perfect offensively, especially against Vegas, but I think the Broncos are going to clean some things up, and I think that's going to be a tough game. I'm not ready to say the Chargers are going to lose, but that's a 2.5-point line in LA for a reason because I think that one is going to be really close. I like Tampa to move on to 3-0 as well. They play the Jets at home.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor, I think Baker's rolling. I think he's playing really good ball, and Todd Bowles and what they do defensively is really good as well. I think the Rams, that's going to be a good game against Philly. It's going to be tough for the Rams to win that game, but the Rams are going to compete, and that thing's going to be close.
Well, I think if Philly's strength was passing, I would think it'd be closer, but the Rams are middle of the road so far at stopping the run, and they're really good at stopping the pass. So I think Philly's going to be able to do what they've been doing, run the ball well, and hopefully get some passing game going. So I think because of that matchup, it's going to be difficult. Another thing that's intriguing to me, another game, is the Colts at the Titans.
Yeah.
Just because 2-0 Colts, are they for real? I think they're for real. This is a big game for them. Going down to Tennessee, playing the Titans, this is a big one for them. Going 3-0 there, that's a big game for them from a morale standpoint. I know 2-0 is great, but 3-0 versus an AFC South opponent, going 3-0 against the Titans, that's a big game. That's one I'm excited to watch.
Quick side note on 0-2 teams. Let's see. We got Atlanta going to – no, not Atlanta. That's not – I was going to mention Houston, a team that I think some people are surprised to see at 0-2 going to play Jacksonville, who's 1-1. Houston feels like it's in desperation mode. C.J. Stroud, after a really good rookie year, I think as an offense, not just him, but as an offense, maybe was a little stagnant last year, didn't take the step forward we expected, and so far this year hasn't looked very good. And so going to Jacksonville, Houston comes out of that thing, if they do. They're an underdog, by the way, 1.5. If Houston comes out of that thing 0-3, you're going to see some desperation from Houston to find answers because they think they have the right quarterback. They have some receivers that are back healthy this year, Nico Collins being the primary one. They've got a pass rush. And they can't win football games. And can they go on the road and beat Jacksonville after Jacksonville coming off a really tough loss to inexcusable loss after losing Joe Burrow to the Bengals? That's going to be an interesting one too. So on that note, as we wrap up here, let's look ahead to this week. Selected a few games here, and then I'm going to give my pick of the week, and Big Pick Nick is going to give his pick of the week. We're going to see how this rolls. So let's start, simply because it's Thursday Night Football tomorrow night. Let's start with Miami at Buffalo. Buffalo minus 12.5 points. That is massive.
Insane.
Massive in the NFL. You'd be like, oh, I think 31-17. That's very believable. That's 14 points. They should be able to do that. Mike McDaniel's job security is in question. Tyreek's patience is wearing thin. He looked pissed off. There's already talk that they would entertain trade offers if they got him, but Adam Schefter reports that there has been no trade offers. If you trade Tyreek Hill at this point, you're basically admitting that we're in full-on rebuilding mode and we're moving on, right? Miami's in a tough spot. They look bad.
Yeah.
And Buffalo is rolling. Buffalo minus 12.5. What do you think?
I'm taking Buffalo. I think they're going to wax them. I think they're going to just go up and down the field, and Oakley's going to be happy because Josh Allen's wearing a visor, waxing Miami up and down the field. Everyone's pissed off after this game. You know, is the coach going to be fired? He's a great head coach. He's done well. He's just struggling this year. There's been some off-the-field things with their team. Obviously, Tyreek Hill causing some issues. So I think Buffalo's going to cover, crazy enough. I can't believe I'm saying that with a 12.5-point spread, but I think Buffalo waxes them on Thursday night.
Usually, I think it opened at 8.5 and it pushed up to 12.5 like right away.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because people wondered, the books wondered what Josh Allen's situation was with a broken nose, but he's going to be fine. Usually when I see 12.5, I think, okay, like,
who's not playing? What's going on?
Nobody wants to jump on Miami, and like the books don't expose themselves like that. I'm just going to take Miami to be that. That's usually what I would say.
Yeah.
But in this case, and look, Miami has talent.
You don't have to agree with me.
Look, HN, their running back, is a stud. They have playmakers. Tyreek Hill's dangerous, right? But this team is bad.
But if they take away Tua's first read, were they in trouble?
Well, that too. And I can also see with Mike McDaniels in his post-game presser, he's usually the same guy, and he kind of still is right now, but something feels different to me.
Hair's a little more greasy, a little more tan, big old glasses.
He looks uneasy, and things with a bad team, things can fall apart quick, and they feel like they're about to fall apart. It's just the problem is, are you going to get everything you have from Buffalo? Or is Buffalo thinking, hey, we're going to win this game. Let's get through it. Let's move on. I know that sounds silly in the NFL, but if Buffalo brings it, this is an easy cover for them. They're going to win by two or more touchdowns. I'm reluctantly going Buffalo. I hate laying these kind of points, but this one feels different to me because it's a short week, premium on health. Miami sucks, and I think that's the way I'm going to roll.
And it's at Buffalo. I mean, the home team has a huge advantage. They don't have to travel.
All right, Cincy at Minnesota. It's Minnesota -3 right now. Carson getting a little bit of love by the books. Since he's got Jake Browning, who's been in this offense longer. Carson wasn't even there during training camp, but they're at home. So Minnesota's getting it on at -3. What do you think?
I got Minnesota -3. I think Carson's going to have a solid game. He's going to do a really good job, throw a couple tutties, just protect the ball, make good plays. I think they're going to beat Cincy pretty good.
I'm concerned with how Minnesota's offense has looked with J.J. McCarthy. I know last year it looked really good at times with Sam Darnold. I worry that Carson's just going to be one read and go. And I know he's not a huge runner, especially now, these days, given his age and all that. But I worry that they're not really going to be settled in from a play calling standpoint. I would take the points here. I don't necessarily think Minnesota's going to lose the game, but I'm not convinced they're going to win by more than a field goal. I think this is going to be low scoring and pretty ugly. I think Jamar Chase will have a couple big plays in the game. That's because that's what they have to latch onto. I'm taking the points. I'm taking Cincy +3. I'm not saying I think Cincy's going to win the game. Otherwise, I'd say take Cincy money line for better odds. But I'm taking the points because I think it's going to be ugly, and I'm not willing to lay any points on this game.
I think T.J. Hawkinson, big game.
Pittsburgh at New England. Pitt is favored by 1.5 points. New England found a way last week to beat Miami. Their defense is not very good. Can Aaron get back to week 1 form against the defense that's not very good? Seattle is a very good defense and presented some issues for Aaron. Or does Seattle give New England the blueprint? Does Mike Vrabel kind of work off that? Does he have the personnel to do that? Pitt at New England. Pitt -1.5 is the line. What do you think?
I think Pitt gets this one. I think Aaron will have a solid game. I think they'll get back on track. I mean, they have, like you said, they're paying their defense. They have the guys on defense. They lock it in with a young quarter playing against Drake May, make it tough on them. I think Pitt gets this one.
I'm going to save that one for my pick of the week because it's included in there. Game of the week, Rams at Philly. This is what we've identified as game of the week. I'm not sure if anyone else has called it that. It's Philly -3.5. Philly's coming off a big win in Kansas City. The Rams are coming off a solid win in Tennessee, 33-19. I think the Rams are proven to be a tough, balanced team with an older veteran quarterback that can still play at a high level. Stafford is a 71% passer this year for 543 yards and 3 touchdowns over 2 games. It's a tough team, and they have some good young defensive talent as well. Philly minus 3.5 at home against the Rams. What happens?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna stay on the Philly. I mean,
do you think that line's surprisingly low, or is that about what you would expect?
I think because Philly's having trouble throwing the ball,
And
that's why it's so and scoring. That's why it's low. But I also know that week 3, they know it. This could be the week that the passing game starts taking off. I'm picking Philly to cover because they've proven me right so far.
Also, part of my I'm going exotic for my pick of the week, so I'm going to save that one for my pick of the week as well. Vegas at Washington. Vegas has really struggled offensively, especially last week against the Chargers on Monday Night Football. Only scored 9 points. Geno has too consistently thrown the ball to the other team. Washington might be without Jaden Daniels, so we're going to have to make this call without knowing. Let's just assume Jaden's going to play for now, and we might get news he's not. But I get the sense he will, and he might just be a little bit limited. But Geno against the Chargers, 24 for 43, 180 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Washington is minus 3.5, I think largely because of the status of Jaden Daniels. Knowing that Jaden's not 100%, let's say he does play, where are you going at Washington minus 3.5?
I think the Raiders. I'm picking the Raiders because I know Tom's talking the chip this week, and Tom's going to help that coaching staff clean everything up, and they're going to play really well.
I'm taking Washington either way. I know Mariota hasn't been amazing in every time we've seen him since he's become a backup. But I think this is a tough football team, and they've gotten better defensively too. And I do worry about where Vegas is at offensively right now. You're not going to keep a Pete Carroll team down for too long, but man, they struggle to run it. They struggle to throw it. And I know the Chargers defense and Jesse Minter is really, really good. But in Washington, I'm still taking Washington minus 3.5 regardless of who plays at quarterback. This is a good one. Denver goes to the Chargers. Chargers minus 2.5. This could be the matchup of the 2 best teams in the AFC West. We could look back at this and say that was a key game this year. Denver's been its own worst enemy so far. Mistakes in week 1, penalties in week 2, cost them a game. Chargers defense is fantastic, even better than it was last year, and it was really good last year. Jesse Minter's the real deal. Overall, Herbert's looked good. It wasn't perfect against Vegas. Vegas kind of held him in check for the most part. Chargers minus 2.5, less than a field goal at home. What do you think?
This will be my I'll get back to this in a little bit.
Okay, that's going to be your pick of the week. I think Denver wins this football game. I really like the way the Chargers have played so far this year on both sides of the ball. I think Denver's due to clean some things up and play a much more complete football game. I think Denver wins this game. I don't think it's an indicator of who wins the AFC West. I feel a lot better about the Chargers now than I did 2 weeks ago. But I think Denver wins this game. They cover 2.5, and you might want to sprinkle some on money line. Dallas at Chicago. I'm only picking this one because, man, if Chicago goes to 0-3 with some optimism before the season, Dallas has some issues as well. I mean, gosh, there were so many sloppy things against the Giants. But Chicago's approaching desperation mode given the way it's played out so far for Caleb. Caleb's got a lot of bad habits. Nonetheless, in Chicago is favored by 1.5. Chicago minus 1.5, welcoming Dallas to town. What happens?
Dallas beats Chicago. Chicago goes 0-3. I'm excited to see Brandon Aubrey kick in at Soldier Field, outdoor stadium. Could be some swirling wind. Let's see what he's got. But I think Dallas beats Chicago.
This is a really tough one to call because I think Dallas made me feel better about who they are in week 1 against the Eagles than I did week 2 against the Giants.
Yep.
I think Chicago is going to make some big plays in this game. Caleb has a lot of bad habits, needs to stay in the pocket, needs to trust the system, but he's got playmakers on the outside. Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, 2 tight ends that are both really good players. I think they gashed Dallas for some big plays in this game, and ultimately I don't think Dallas is able to keep up. I still don't feel great about what Caleb is in this offense, but I think this is where they get their first win at home. And we're asking a lot of questions about Dallas after. I'm taking Chicago minus 1.5. Kansas City at the Giants. Kansas City is favored by 6.5 points. Last week, Russ, this is a fascinating graphic.
450 yards.
Well, okay, so last week Russ went for 450 yards. which is the second most in his entire career.
He had 452, I think, is the most.
He was 30 of 41 in the game. Week 1, he was 17 of 37 for 168. So a completely different game last week against the Dallas defense. Yet Kansas City, and by the way, the Giants have a good 4-man pass rush, and the Giants have good playmakers at receiver. Malik Neighbors is special, right? So they can appear competent at times, even though they're 0-2. Kansas City, who has deficiencies in a lot of areas right now, is favored by 6.5 points. Could be rock bottom for KC if they lose this game. Kansas City minus 6.5. What do you think?
I don't think it'll ever be rock bottom with Kansas City with Andy Reid. They came back.
If they go 0-3, losing to the Giants.
They were like 0-5 with Alex Smith and rattled off like 11 wins.
Yeah, but that's Alex Smith.
This is Pat Mahomes.
No, this is Pat Mahomes.
This is what I think.
No, this is a dynasty.
Yeah,
this
but
is way different.
this
is way different. If they go 0-3 against the Giants, you got to be kidding me.
I think the Chiefs don't win the AFC West, but I think they finish second.
Okay, what
throughout
happens
this year? I think KC wins this game, but I think that New York covers the spread.
I think they get after Mahomes a little bit.
I mean, I think because of Dak threw all over him. Giants defense has given up 917 passing yards in 2 games. I know Pat doesn't have his 2 best receivers, but I do think he has enough and he's good enough against a defense that sucks at pass, in the back end, to where they're going to win. I think it'll be tighter than 6.5, but KC will win, but I'm picking New York to cover. So New York will be my pick.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm not sure New York wins this game, and I wouldn't wager on that. But I do think their pass rush and playmakers at receiver allow them to stay in games and make things interesting. And maybe Russ can build a little bit off of what he did last week, having the second best game of his career from a passing standpoint. Look, Russ has always been, his whole career, a fantastic thrower of the deep ball.
Yep.
And he made some incredible throws to Malik Neighbors last week.
Yep.
And Malik did a great job in using his body to shield off the defender and making the play.
Did a great job.
Right? So can they keep some of that going? I say yes. I think the Giants keep it closer. Kansas City, to me, I know the Eagles are good defensively, but they weren't very good offensively last week, and I think this game ends up being closer, but Kansas City finds its first win. Last one, Detroit at Baltimore. Baltimore minus 5.5. This feels like a huge gut check for Detroit. After having 2 drastically different performances so far this year, the first one against Green Bay, the second one at home against Chicago, 2 different teams. The second one, they looked like what we thought they would look like this year. But now they're going to get a real test going on the road, and they're a 5.5-point dog to Baltimore at home. What do you think?
I think Detroit will cover. I think I'm picking Detroit with the points.
Really?
Yeah, I'm picking Detroit with the points. Not convinced that they'll beat Baltimore, but I'm picking them to cover the 5.5.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, the personnel is better this year because they have some defensive players that are healthy.
Yep.
There just is no continuity on carryover from the coordinator spot, so you're wondering if this team is gelling yet. Mm-hmm. And they certainly look like they were against Chicago, who struggled. I agree. I think 5.5 is a bit too much. I'm with you on Detroit. I think they'll cover. I'm not sure they'll win. Baltimore has a tendency to give things away late and give other teams opportunities, but let's roll with Detroit plus 5.5. All right, my pick of the week. I got 2. I love, and I talked earlier in the show about some issues that Pittsburgh has, and I'm concerned about them. But I love Pittsburgh going down or going to New England and winning this football game. New England's defense is not very good so far this year. I love Mike Vrabel, but they are just not very good. Drake May's done some good things, but it's not a very good defense as of right now. And I think Aaron's going to be able to capitalize on that. I think he and DK Metcalf and these other receivers, Calvin Austin, I think they'll find their stride similar to what we saw in week 1. I like what they have as a play caller in Arthur Smith. That, to me, this is one of my 2 picks of the week. Pittsburgh minus 1.5 at New England. I think they win that football game. My second one is an exotic. I do this sometimes, like to tease. Now, some gamblers say, man, don't do teasers. That's stupid money, man. You're trying to get 2 games right. I know. Here's what I would tease. I'd take a 2-team teaser. I would tease Tampa down from 7 to 1. Remember, on a teaser, you pick 2 games and you get 6-point movement in either direction, whichever way you want. I would take Tampa from -7 to -1. Just let them win the football game because I think they will beat the Jets with Tyrod Taylor playing at home in Tampa. The other one is I want to tease LA, the Rams, up from 3.5 to 9.5. I don't think they beat Philly, but I think this ends up being a 1-score game because I like what the Rams are doing defensively and I love Matt Stafford, and I think this team is tough. And I think they're going to go in there like we saw in the NFC Championship game the playoffs. It was divisional round maybe. I can't remember what round it was. They're going to play the Eagles tough. And I'm not sure the Eagles are going to score enough points to win by 10 or more. That's my teaser of the week. That's the one I think rolls. Now, let's move on to Big Pick Nick's Pick of the Week. BPN Pick of the Week. What do you got?
I got Denver at the Chargers. 2.5 point spread. I love the Chargers right now.
We're different on this one.
Yeah, Coach Harbaugh, I mean, he's just always been successful. Being year 2 there, you can see that Justin Herbert's very comfortable with what they're doing offensively. He has some clean looks to throw play action down the field. Got a star receiver back, making plays with his legs, getting down, running game, everything in between. Defense is balling. I like them to beat Denver, to cover the spread 2.5, and then Denver goes to 1-2. I do have a question about the LA game. Does the injury to Sean McVay affect the game at all with the torn plantar fasciitis or whatever it was on the sideline?
I think he'll be okay.
Okay.
He's young. He'll bounce back.
But my big pick, I like the Chargers. I mean, we talked about it early before the season. I know.
It's a huge pick.
It's a huge pick. It's got to be a big pick. It's got to be an aggressive pick. It's got to be a hard pick.
Yep.
And this is a very hard pick. I feel really confident. I haven't seen enough from Denver to feel confident with them. Love Justin Herbert, always have. Think he's playing his best ball. I think Harbaugh's got his culture in there. The defense is playing really well. I just think it'll be really hard for Bo Nix to play against that defense. And I know he had a good game last week. I know they lost at the end, mistakes and all that. But I think Chargers go to 3-0.
For anybody that looks at lines on a regular basis, when you see that half point, when you see it go from 3 to 2.5, to me it's a big red flag. And the books, as they look at that, saying like, we're not even willing to give the Chargers 3 points at home, which I think is super interesting and usually catches my eye. And I just always tend to err on taking the 2.5 points or even money line on the team that is getting the 2.5 points, because I think it's happening for a reason. And I think Denver can clean some things up and clean up their operation and play well.
I do want to throw a curveball in this episode because I know I have a Chargers fan in here. Mm-hmm. And he's over there in the corner. So Denver at Chargers, 2.5. Tell me about the Chargers, man. The Bolts are looking good. Would you like this game? Do you like Justin Herbert? Do you like Herbie?
I got to be honest. It's hard. I've been a Chargers fan for over 10 years, and it's hard to believe in them. I love them. I think they look great.
But you've never seen this version of the Chargers, though.
Yeah, I mean, Harbaugh, year 2, I like everything you're saying. I want to be cautiously optimistic because I've had a lot of heartbreak, to be honest with you guys, as being a Chargers fan.
I think that's normal. You've seen them give away some ridiculous games under Brandon Staley and coaches that were there before. I get it, but things feel different now because they've got Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, the locker room seems completely different.
Yeah.
Well, Keenan Allen's back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. I mean,
all-time great Chargers.
Yeah. I mean, and he's making plays.
Yeah.
Through 2 games. If these statistics are right, 12 receptions, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns, 10.75 yards per catch. He's doing really well. That's a comfort blanket for Justin Herbert. Having Keenan Allen out there, having that guy on the field is huge. So I think this could be the year that they sort of take the AFC West. I like them. It all depends on Justin Herbert staying healthy, though. Like, the biggest thing is the health of the players, and specifically the key players like the quarterback. So I like the Chargers this year.
I love it. That's Big Pick Nick's pick of the week, and I also went over my pick of the week as well, and we covered all our other picks as well. That is a show. That is a loaded show. This is episode 5.
Thank goodness. I have to pee so bad.
Oh,
I've been holding it for the last hour. We didn't say we were going to go 2 hours. We went 2 hours, so I cannot wait to go to the restroom.
That is episode 5, NFL Week 3. The Season Podcast. We thank you guys very much for listening. Remember, check us out at The Season Pod, SZN Pod on Instagram. Also on our YouTube channel. Those things are also linked on our Instagram page as well. And as always, we thank you for listening. Enjoy the week.
Bye.